This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. We are back. That's right. Who's next? The latest episode, it might be the greatest. I say that a lot on this pod, but, we just keep getting better and better. I am Andy Atherton, one of your co-hosts here on this journey through current day NXT. Now, it's been a little bit, so we're changing up the format a little bit tonight. We've saw a format change that we've done in the past just because life gets in the way. Scheduling is tough sometimes, especially when your co-host has a plethora of podcasts that he regularly does, including the Cross-Up that you can hear every week over on the Backbone Wrestling Network. It is the one, the only, Logan Crosland. Logan, so glad that we could finally get our schedules to align. The stars are in our favor, and we're back here talking NXT. How are you, man?
Yeah, I had to be a real bastard and go on a family beach vacation last week, which really screwed up a lot of things.
Selfish. Well, I was sick one night, you were sick one night. It just, shit happens, man. But, we persevere, and we do it because we love it, right?
Exactly, 100%. But yeah, schedules finally worked out, so we're here. We will talk about some NXT ahead of Deadline coming up this weekend. So.
That's right. And speaking of Deadline, we will be previewing Deadline tonight, but we will be doing that towards the back end of the show, because as we are recording on Tuesday, December 3rd, you are listening to this on Friday, December 6th. NXT is actually going on right now, and we don't know the final card, actually. It's still shaping up. I believe only one match really needs to be finalized, but we will save that to the end of the show so that we give you guys the proper preview you all deserve. So to change it up, it's been a while since we've had an episode, so we're going to forego doing our breakdown and rundown of the episodes, and we're going to, like I said, do something we've done before, where we're going to run down the roster. And as we do so, we're going to kind of talk about, the last month or 2 months or so of what's been going on with them, and then kind of talk about what we see for them in the future, whether it's 2025 or even beyond for some of these young superstars. So we're going to go with the men first, and then we'll go to the ladies. All right, so Logan, let's start off with the D'Angelo family, but we're going to exclude Adriana Rizzo for now. Mm-hmm. But we're going to start off with Tony D, our current NXT North American champion. What are your feelings on Tony D over the last few months, and what do you see for him in the future of 2025 and maybe even beyond?
Yeah, I mean, he has become North American champion since we last spoke to the people of the listeners of our pod. So, we've obviously we're on the CW now. We also kind of missed that a little bit, but we are on the CW. He won it on one of the first couple episodes from Obafemi. He finally vanquished the ruler of NXT and became the official Don and the North American champion during that. So he's been doing good stuff. He's had some good defenses so far. He's one of those guys that I feel like for a while we've kind of said, if they throw him up on the main roster, I think he could be all right. I could easily see him whenever he loses the North American Championship, their group kind of going up. I think they want to kind of build the group under him right now to kind of, be bigger superstars. Maybe Stax and Luca win the tag titles at some point in the future to kind of build them up a little bit more. But Tony D is one of those guys that I could definitely see maybe going up at any point after he loses the title. But I could also see him staying around and, like I said, continuing to build that family and all the people that are with him.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think he's going to hold it for a little while. I don't know who may take it from him yet. They haven't really built up a challenger yet for that title. Yeah, I think and it was the second time, right? This is his second time being the NXT North American champion, right?
No, I think this is the first. I think that
No?
was his first singles title. He's been tag champion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
once,
sorry.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was he won in a rematch, right?
Yeah.
That's where I got a little confused.
Yeah.
He's a guy that really has grown. His in-ring has gotten, so much better. He had the character pretty down pretty early on.
Yeah.
But, the building up the family around him, I agree. He is all but ready to go up to the main roster, and I think he will do well up there. They'll build him up with vignettes and things like that. And but I agree that the rest of the family, I think, if they want to, because his character, he kind of needs people with him, right? How can you be the Don of a family without the family? So they could maybe take some people on the main roster that aren't being used and maybe put them in the family if they feel like Stax and Luca aren't ready. I mean, Stax is almost pretty much there too.
Yeah.
He has grown a lot. Luca, is coming along too. I mean, fit in really well as in like the consigliere kind of role in the D'Angelo family. I can see him called up sometime in 2025.
Yeah.
Because once he does lose, I agree with you, the NXT title. I don't know how much more there is for him. Would he be moved into that, NXT title picture for a little while? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he, challenges and loses, and then that's kind of his swan song to go up to the main roster. But yeah, I agree with you, and I do see the family gaining the tag team titles at some point over the next however many months. So, that's what we see with the D'Angelo family. Now, next is a guy, and we're going to talk about him on his own because he no longer has a group. That is Andre Chase. Ridge Holland has vanquished Chase U finally. I mean, they were a thing. I mean, Tony has been doing his gimmick pretty much since 2.0, the 2.0 days when that started. But, Chase U had been around too since the beginning. And, what does the future hold for Andre Chase? Because I was worried that Chase U, if he gets moved up, could go the way, not nearly as bad as No Way Jose, but, Adam Rose. Adam Rose was really big in NXT, but it did not translate to the main roster. And we've talked about this before, how I am unsure. You're a little more, not as worried if they were to do a Chase U on the main roster. But where do we go with Andre Chase now? I know that they've been teasing something like when he was cleaning up the office and a voice call to him. We have not gotten that reveal yet. Maybe we'll get that before the end of the episode tonight, but I don't know. But what do you see about what's going to happen with Andre Chase?
Yeah, I think it all really kind of depends on that. But I think he's one of those again that could go up on the main roster. I don't think he's going to just have a ton of success, but he has a ton of charisma. He pulled a really good match out of Ridge Holland, which is saying a lot, because not many people have done that successfully. But he just has a connection. I mean, and it may just be the NXT crowd, but he has such a connection with the crowd. He can get them in the palm of his hand in pretty much any match that he has. It would be interesting to see maybe if he could get that on the main roster. But I think in the big arena shows, they haven't I feel like they've had pretty good crowd support in the bigger arena kind of special events, PLEs, whatever you want to call them. So I think it could work. Again, I don't think he's a character or that is a character group that's gonna have they may win the tag titles or something like that, but he's never gonna be like a long-term Intercontinental Champion or United States Champion or anything like that, and he's certainly not going to be a World Champion or anything like that. But he could be a bit player, kind of an R-Truth kind of situation.
Yeah.
Play him for comedy a little bit, but I think he could be a guy that can hang around for a while. But again, maybe a tag title run if they kind of rehash it on the main roster with Duke and Riley and Thea and all that. But just not a main eventer, not probably not, maybe a lower level mid carder, maybe gets a shock intercontinental win at some point, but nothing long term or anything like that. I think he has the ability to hang around and have good matches with people when he needs to. But he's never going to ascend past a certain level just because of the character, unless he changes it, obviously.
Yeah, he's a serviceable hand, basically. He's a guy, he's your, if he was still wrestling, like what your Tyson Kidd would be today. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing about doing a Chase U is that we have, Alpha, whatever it's called. It's not called Alpha Academy anymore, or whatever it is. You don't want two
American
kind of, kind of similar things, like, because he's like a player coach, right? He's a guy that can go in the ring, but he's also a really good like manager leader type.
Yeah. So
that could be where he gets slotted in. I mean, definitely if the old man was still around, he would definitely just be a manager if he was to go up there. but no, I mean, I'm interested to see where they go with him, because without Chase U, what is Andre Chase? And that's what we're going to find out. And then we could probably have on our one of our first episodes of next year, we could probably be able to make somewhat of a more of a, informed analysis on him. Yeah. So, all right. So we'll move on to our current NXT Tag Team Champions. We got Axiom and Nathan Frazier. And they will be getting challenged at Deadline. We will preview the match later, like I said, but they're being challenged now by No Quarter Catch Crew, Miles Bourne, and Tavion Heights. But these are guys that really have had strong years, both great in ring. I'm not as familiar with Axiom from his A-Kid days over at NXT UK, and I'm not that familiar with Nathan Frazier from UK. But now that they started letting them have some personality, especially Frazier, letting it shine. I mean, the guys they've been putting on some tremendous matches. But I think their time as a team may be coming to a close soon, and which. I don't know. Like if they're going to hang around for a while, I'm okay with that. But if they're on the track to get moved up to the main roster, I would love to see them come up as a tag team. Yep. But what are your thoughts on these guys?
Yeah, it could be interesting to see them come up as a tag team. But yeah, I think a splits even maybe in the near future. Mm-hmm. I don't envision them probably losing the No Quarter Catch Crew at Deadline, but. I honestly could see them pulling the trigger as well. I don't think they will, but we'll see how that kind of goes at Deadline. But yeah, I definitely think they're going to be Splitsville before too long. Obviously, they're also both kind of trying to qualify, or Nathan Frazier has qualified for the Iron Survivor Challenge, but obviously, as we're speaking, Axiom is trying to get in the match as well. So I think maybe Axiom sneaks in there, and they maybe have some tension in that match as well. But I mean, I think they'll retain the tag titles at Deadline. But I think some team at some point in the maybe at like a New Year's Evil kind of situation maybe takes the titles from them. But yeah, I think Frazier has a ton of potential. He has just insane speed. The stuff that he can do and the craziness that he can pull out is something that at least will grab the NXT crowd. And I could see him, maybe being a surprise North American champion, maybe in the latter parts of next year, or maybe even ascending to an NXT title picture at some point. And Axiom, he could be a North American kind of guy, but I don't ever really see him as a NXT champion kind of situation.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Frazier's got the more charisma now, with his kind of putting his foot in the mouth kind of deal he gets. He kind of reminds me of Eddie Guerrero a little bit, with the speed and the build and just how quick he is. These guys, when the inevitable split does happen, I think we could get some Guerrero Malenko type matches out of them, like we used to see back in the the ECW WCW days. So I think these guys are both. I could definitely see them up on the main roster before the end of next year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see either in the Rumble or anything like that, but I definitely I think these guys have the potential to go, and they've been around for a while between NXT UK and NXT proper. I definitely see them, and like I said, I would love to see them come up as a tag team because I think the main roster could use some more tag teams. NXT has really been putting an effort in with their tag teams the last few weeks at least. So, and we got a lot of new ones coming in. So I definitely see them coming up, especially with possible new arrivals, which we'll talk about later in the form of the Lucha Brothers. I would love to see these guys go against them.
Oh yeah, that would be absolutely insane.
I think it would be fun. Yeah, it'd be a fun match. Quick. I mean, you'd have to just sit there like whoa, back and forth. So, but we could talk about possible arrivals to NXT later on. So, all right, moving on to another tag team, OTM, Bronco Nima and Luchin Price. So just we'll talk about Jada later. These guys have been kind of treading water for a little while. They were being featured a lot more, but I think Bronco Nima had an injury to his face because he's been wearing a mask. So, but they're starting to come back on TV quite a bit more. I think these guys have potential. I think they're still a little on the green side. Yeah. I think they'll be in NXT for quite some time going forward, but they could be like a powerhouse tag team. By this time next year, I think they could be ruling the tag team division. So, what do you think of these guys?
Yeah, like you said, they're still a little green behind the ears, and that injury obviously took kind of stunted their growth for a little bit. But obviously they're back now. They kind of I think Lucien lasted towards the end of the Battle Royal tonight too. So that they're obviously kind of trying to feature them as one of the more important or higher up the chain teams. So I definitely think they have a pretty bright future. I think they'll kind of be the bruiser, big guy tag team on the heel side for the foreseeable future. And they could have the tag titles by about this time next year. But I definitely think they will continue to kind of ascend. But we'll see if they can get to that title picture and maybe even win the titles. But I do think they have a bright future. It just might be a little bit before they ascend to that position.
Yeah, once some other more veteran teams are moved out of NXT, they will start to move up. I think now we see them as baby faces. I think I like and we talked about this before. I think that's kind of the goal. I think they're going to try everybody as both sides of the coin to see how they do. And then whichever side, people flip flop all the time. I mean, we're not talking Big Show flip flopping or Natalia flip flopping, but they want to see how they do. We're not going to see Ricky Steamboats anymore, where somebody's a babyface their entire career, or the other side. But no, I think again, very athletic, good, but they just need time. That's really what it is. Okay, so next on our list, and we can kind of. Well, we'll group him in with somebody else too, because he's kind of connected to them. So Brooks Jensen is next on the list, and this is a guy who, I have not been that high on, as we talked about in the past. I still, here's the thing, like Sean Spears, we can group him in now too. I mean, his injury not long after arrival kind of stunted him, but they've kept him on TV, they kept him around, and he's kind of I don't know, I'm trying to think of like the best comparison. I don't want to say Raven, like Raven's flock kind of deal going, because that's what I kind of feel like Brooks Jensen might be like his Kidman. If you remember, you are. I don't know if that stuff was still going on where you're covering on Are You Smarter Than Russo's WCW right now, but I do remember when Raven's flock started coming around, and you got this Billy Kidman, this white meat baby face, that just all of a sudden puts on a dirty T-shirt and some jean shorts and some Doc Martens, and doesn't cut his hair, and then that's kind of where I see Brooks Jensen right now. He's kind of this, I don't know, lost soul, and that's kind of what Raven's flock kind of made their way with was getting these lost souls and getting them to buy into, Raven's bullshit basically. And I think that's what's going on here. I think Sean Spears is doing some more active recruiting he did earlier. I don't know if he was scouting Izzy or Gigi. I'm hoping it was Izzy because I don't want to see Gigi anywhere near that. But what do you think of Sean Spears and Brooks Jensen? You could talk about them separately. Also talk about them as whatever this thing that they're doing with them.
Yeah, Jensen definitely needs something. I think pairing him with a veteran like Spears is a good idea. I don't think they've necessarily executed it super well so far. But I think they just need to kind of give Spears a group, like officially, like throw whatever girl in there you want to throw in there, throw a tag team in there or whatever. But he needs to just have an established group. It needs to stop being this like, oh, maybe he'll recruit this guy or maybe he'll recruit this team or he's watching Izzy or he's watching Gigi. He needs to they need to become the group that they're going to be. I mean, I know you want to kind of play things out sometimes, but it's been playing out for a good bit now. And I think Spears just needs to have a group. They need to start kind of accomplishing things and before they're taken seriously. So I don't think they've been doing bad stuff, but I just feel like they're kind of treading water a little bit. They've been involved with Tony D, so Spears may be an eventual candidate to maybe take the title off of him, but they need to just kind of move this thing along a little bit quicker because it's kind of just tedious and it seems to have been kind of drawn out for a while. So I would like to see Spears just add to his group and kind of get it established and move on from there.
Yeah, I definitely think, especially like if the D'Angelo family does move on at some point, they may need another group to take their slot. I mean, we have a couple of other groups, one we're going to talk about next, but I think Brooks is one of those guys that it's like there's something there, but we're trying to find it still.
Yeah.
And I think with working with a veteran like Sean Spears, kind of being aligned with him on TV kind of leads to stories you hear like backstage they will start to ride together and do and train together more. So I think it's really good for him. I just think the scruffy look and what have you is a little weird at the moment. But definitely we'll see something there. I mean, Spears is a guy that could get moved up to the main roster tomorrow, but I think, there's one thing also we don't always think about is like, do these guys, want to go to the main roster? I make sure they want to get the money and all that stuff, but he's a guy that is married to Peyton Royce. Whatever, I forgot. I'm not remember her real name off the top of my head right now.
Cassie, I believe.
Cassie Lee, whatever her name is. And then, but I believe she's pregnant again too.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
so at least he's got one kid, possibly another on the way. I mean, having some stability, being in Orlando, maybe what he wants at this time in his life, and maybe he's a guy that they could bring up at some point. Without the group, if the group gets better, bigger, and they can move them on to something, I don't know, but. Definitely, good to have his veteran presence there. All right. So our next group we're going to talk about is the No Quarter Catch Crew, sans Ren, because we'll talk about her later as well. So Charlie Dempsey, kind of, he's our current Heritage Cup champion, a gimmick that has grown on me more. You were more on board earlier than I was, but I think it was just something I had to get used to. Mm-hmm. But he's a guy, lots of potential. He's somebody that needs to be able to work off of somebody in the personality department. Like he's definitely gotten better, and he's softened up a little bit. Maybe his dad being there with him more regularly has kind of helped him out a bit. But I see him, I'd like to see him in the ring a little bit more. I don't know if he's been injured or something, but he's definitely been kind of almost the player coach more than anything. And then we got Bourne and Heights. Bourne is kind of a guy that he's one of those guys that can go in the ring, but we haven't seen the personality yet. And Heights is just a beast. I mean, he came back from Japan, like, with a little hitch in his giddy up, so to speak, and he's been really performing well. So I think these guys have a continued growth. It was a big night in NXT for them also, with Ren qualifying for the Women's Iron Survivor. But what are your thoughts on the No Quarter Catch crew, where we are?
Yeah, Charlie's one of those guys that has kind of unlimited potential. He definitely needs to get a little bit better in the promo department. But like you said, that's why it's good that he is the group to kind of play off of. I think ever since they kind of added Ren, she's somebody good to kind of play off of, because he's kind of dry and she's kind of bubbly and kind of excitable and all that kind of stuff. So I think pairing them together was a really, really good idea for him and kind of his growth as a character. But he's really good in the ring. Like you said, I think it's good to kind of have his dad around, and maybe to give him some advice and all that other kind of stuff. But the tag team, they obviously won the Battle Royal tonight, which we'll kind of talk about again later when we preview Deadline. But yeah, I think they have potential. Tavion is a super athlete. I think Miles is an former amateur wrestler as well, so he's an athlete as well. But Tavion definitely has more of the potential out of the group, I would say, to maybe break out eventually. But yeah, this group could be a pretty big factor. Maybe not by the end of next year, but I would say maybe going into 2026, they could probably be one of the more featured and like heavily pushed groups. If they stay together, obviously, by about the time that maybe not next year, but the year after. I could definitely see Charlie kind of ascending to the North American title at some point next year, but I think they'll be a big part of NXT in maybe 2 years or so.
Yeah, the Heritage Cup, to me, if you were going to like rank it, compare it to a belt of past, maybe it's like akin to like the TV title back we had in WCW. It's like you had the U.S. title as your mid-card title, then you had your TV title, which was a little below, and they did put some effort into booking it. But it's one of those, like, he's better than the Heritage Cup, basically. He doesn't need to be doing the Heritage Cup. I think that's something that he can move on from and really get into, because they're not going to be doing the Heritage Cup on the main roster. I don't ever see that happening. Yeah. So he needs to like kind of get back into like more regular matches. So we can, and that doesn't have to happen right away. It could happen, 6 months from now, whatever. But just it'll be good for him to, I think, to start showing in the regular type of wrestling match what he's gotten. And like I said, the tag team, I agree with you. They have potential there, and we'll just have to see where it takes them. Yep. All right. So next we got Dante Chen. Dante Chen is a guy that's been there for a long time. He's had couple upset wins, I guess, if you will, where Lexus King. He's one of those like NXT, not lifers, but he's in that kind of Angelo Dawkins, Jason Jordan kind of thing, where they were there forever and they finally found something that clicked with them. So the guy's good in the ring. I mean, he's unique in terms of his heritage. He's still an open book, basically. It's like, what are we going to see from Dante Chen? How are they going to push him? What are they going to do with him? Is he going to get into a tag team? Is he going into a group? So, any thoughts on Dante Chen?
Yeah, like you said, he's a kind of a NXT lifer. He was a 205 Live guy. He was a permanent on there. Level Up, he was always on. Kind of been a stalwart of those two shows for a lot of his career. There's potential there. Like you said, he's pretty solid in the ring, but I hate to give up on a guy, but I think he's just kind of where he's at, and I don't know if I particularly think he's going to ascend past that. Like, probably would have said that about the guys that you mentioned before, a Dawkins or a Jason Jordan that was in the original NXT way back in the day for forever before they kind of hit. But yeah, maybe they'll find a tag team partner for him that has a little bit more charisma that can kind of bring him up, like maybe a Montez Ford did for Angelo. So we'll see. But I don't have much hope for old Dante. I think they'll keep him around just because he's kind of like a quote unquote good hand. So, but I'll just say we'll see on him.
All right. Next is a guy that I'm curious to see where they go with him because he had a gimmick when 2.0 started as a gambler. It didn't really resonate with people. Then he became part of Chase U, and now that Chase U is no more, Duke Hudson is a guy, has all the potential in the world. He's got size. He's, can go in singles and tag teams, does a great hot tag. I'm very curious how they package him going forward because he's a guy that I could see has a lot of upside to him, and I'd like to see him get into some kind of singles title picture, whether it be NXT North American, maybe even one of those like Flavor of the Month challengers to the NXT title. But I really want to see what he does on his own. I just don't know what kind of gimmick or packaging he will have. What are your thoughts on Duke?
Yeah, I could see them kind of keeping him and Riley together as a tag team, despite the fact that they're not Chase U technically at that point. But I could see them maybe doing something like that for the immediate future. But yeah, he's definitely a guy that has a ton of potential. He's kind of like Chase earlier. I think he has a little bit more potential than maybe him to kind of ascend past a certain point. But yeah, he's got a ton of charisma. He's got the NXT arena crowd kind of completely behind him. Like you said, he's an incredible hot tag. But yeah, he's got a ton of energy. He's got the size. He can talk. He can do pretty much everything. So he's a guy again. Maybe not by the end of next year, maybe in that NXT title picture. But maybe the year after that, I could see him kind of maybe ascending to that point. But I could definitely see him maybe being a North American champion by the end of next year. But yeah, like I said, maybe 2 years from now, he could be a guy that maybe could have ascended at that point to being a big contender for the NXT championship.
Yeah, I mean, they could even bring him up, and
yeah.
I would pair him with like Grayson Waller, like. Like an Australian thing, kind of like, Grayson's the big, like, almost like a Shawn Diesel kind of thing, a lot of that's a comparison we like to make to a lot of people. But yeah, like the bigger guy standing behind the guy with the big mouth kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and Waller could dump Theory, and that they could easily make them a tag team or make him kind of just, like you said, kind of Grayson's heavy when Grayson maybe starts going for a singles title or something like that.
All right, next is a guy just qualified for the Iron Survivor, Eddie Thorpe. This is a guy I'm trying to figure out still. Because, because he had the little, I guess, Tatanka for, 2024 gimmick going. And then he was like a DJ. Now I really don't know what they're doing with him. They had that thing where I was a little scratching my head on last week's episode because they have that fracas backstage with all the tag teams, which Ava caused herself, and then he accidentally trying to talk to Ava, and then somebody pushes him into her, and he puts his hand on her, and then she goes down by accidentally, and then Shawn Michaels flips out on him, and everything. I mean, he was they went back and looked at the tape apparently, and then everything was fine. He got into his match, but I mean, he's a guy. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out. I mean, he's got talent. I'm just trying to figure out who he is and what's going to stick with him. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they're trying to test his potential as maybe a heel. He hasn't gone full heel yet, obviously, but he started to kind of bitch and moan a little bit more over the last month or so. And then that stuff with Ava last week where the door accidentally knocks her over and Shawn pretty much bitches him out and tells him to leave the arena. But yeah, I think he's starting to maybe lean a little more heel, maybe see if that works. Because the face thing, I mean, he was fine. I won't say he was something I look forward to seeing every week or anything like that. For the first little while when he came around. But yeah, the DJ stuff was really stupid. But I definitely think they're trying to test out some kind of heel persona with him. And obviously they're going to try and do something with him because he did just qualify, like you said, for the Men's Iron Survivor Challenge. So we'll see how he does in that. But yeah, I think they're definitely trying to go heel with him a little bit to see if that maybe hits a little bit harder than the kind of middling face run that he had for a while there.
Yeah, I thought for a minute they were going to put him in a tag team with that other kid but they ended up releasing him.
Bear Hill, yeah.
Bear Hill, yeah. But yeah, he's one of those. He's a work in progress, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right. So now onto your favorite tag team of NXT, Aegis and Ofe and Malik Blade.
Oh, they're your favorite.
Yeah. Oh god, they're so they're they're kind of walking contradictions to each other. So which is funny. I mean, they haven't been on TV that much lately. They had something going with Brinley Reese for a little while about positive and do this and that and the other thing and yada yada yada. I mean, they can put on decent matches. But it's like, what do you want to be? What one guy is like kind of that show off. The other guy's kind of like the bookworm kind of deal. I mean, I don't know. They're like, and it's a sad comparison, like a poor man's private party kind of thing going here.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is really bad to say because I'm not a big, fan of those guys either. But I mean, I do not see these guys going up anytime soon. I mean, unless they need like a jobber tag team up there, but
they don't need it that bad.
Yeah. So what do you think about these guys? You think they'll just be a team that they can insert in here and there until they really find their thing? Maybe they need to go heel and get themselves a manager. Like if they still had what's his face? He's over in he was here and then he went over. He's in AEW.
Stokely.
Yeah, Stokely would have been a good guy for them.
Yeah, I'm just not sure with these guys. I think Enofe probably has a bit more potential.
Yeah.
Out of the two, I think Malik's just build, and I just don't think he has. He's kind of lanky and skinny, and not that that's a bad thing per se, but in this industry, it doesn't really make him stand out, or it kind of does make him stand out, but maybe not for the right reasons. But yeah, I think they're just kind of another Dante Chen. They'll exist. They play their role. But I don't see too much of a future with these guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, so now we got a guy that's in the Iron Survivor as well. I think it was probably the best thing that could happen to him was come to NXT. And not go to the main roster because he really needed to he needed to kind of like reestablish himself because AEW, he had okay time there, but nothing to really write home about. And that's all ego Ethan Page. I think he's been really great here. I think he suits the smaller promotion, I guess, the smaller brand. I think he'll get swallowed up. If he was to go up, now, I probably will say something different in a few months. I mean, he's also a guy that maybe you could plug into the Rumble, maybe for a one-off to kind of test him out, see what kind of reaction he gets. But I think I've been pretty pleased with him. He pretty much stepped in and was in the main title, the title picture right away, and I think he's earned it and deserved to stay in it. He's a guy I think I could see him, maybe being up by the end of next year. Yeah. So, where are you with Ethan Page?
Yeah, I have enjoyed his run so far. I was incredibly glad when they finally ended kind of the him and Trick thing because I felt like they had diminishing returns in their matches as far as that's concerned. But I have enjoyed his run so far. I am looking forward to seeing him maybe split off to something else and doing something else for a little bit before maybe going back to an NXT title shot. But yeah, he has a ton of charisma. In TNA, him and Josh Alexander were a tag team there for a while. And I think he has a lot more charisma that hasn't quite been unlocked throughout that because he did a lot of YouTube stuff when he was in TNA as well that was pretty funny and could show like that maybe he's could be a good face at some point too. But he is a really good shitbag heel. So yeah, I think he could work on the main roster. I think he's gonna continue to kind of build himself in NXT for a little while, but maybe like an end of the year kind of call up. for next year. I could definitely see him going up, but I think he'll kind of continue to kind of be around in NXT, maybe put a few people over on the way, and maybe contend for the NXT championship and maybe the little bit distant future. But I think he could work with some other guys and maybe bring them up to being the experienced veteran that he is. So yeah, definitely a lot of potential there.
He's a guy.
Yeah,
go ahead.
good.
No, sorry,
You got it.
cut you off.
No,
yeah, he's one of those guys that could be a surprise draft pick of Raw or SmackDown in like the next draft. You just don't know. But yeah, he definitely has shown that he deserves to be in the main title scene in NXT at least.
Yeah.
It might take him a bit to get there once he gets up to the main roster. He's a guy that will be in mid-card title land for a very long time, I think, till maybe some of the elder statesmen may call it a day, I think, kind of thing, until there's a kind of room for him up there.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's a guy that I didn't know his TNA stuff, really. I mean, I had heard of him, but, I saw some of the stuff he was doing in AEW, but, he's kind of a guy that, got a new lease on life, so to speak. So, all right.
Yeah, I was AEW wasted him pretty bad. I hate that he kind of isn't going to be able to get those years back. So, but yeah, hopefully WWE can do some good with him eventually. But I think he'll be a mid-card guy in the main roster for a while whenever he goes up. But I think he could definitely ascend before it's all said and done.
All right. So we got next is a tag team. One we actually mentioned briefly, Hank and Tank. I love these guys. These guys are, balls of energy. Tank is just he's kind of like Otis's thinner younger brother kind of thing. He's just the guy is a ball. He brings excitement. They're so over. Thought they were going to get the title, the tag title opportunity, but that could come later. I see a lot of potential with them. I don't know how they would do if they were to be split up. They're guys I think they need to be kept together at least for the next long time. But I don't see splitting them anytime soon because it doesn't. I don't think it does either of them good right now. So, what are your thoughts on Hank and Tank?
Yeah, I mean, like we kind of said earlier, I think we both kind of thought maybe they would win the Battle Royal tonight, but obviously they came up a little bit short. But they have potential as a tag team. Like you said, I don't think I would split them up anytime soon, maybe even ever. I think they're a really good tag team. They, like you said, they bring a ton of energy. They have the crowd behind them. Definitely could see them being a team for a good long while, even onto the main roster eventually. But yeah, they'll hang around the title picture for the tag teams just because I think they're one of the more established teams at this point that have kind of been around for a while. So I definitely could see them being tag champs by maybe the end of next year. So, but yeah, I definitely think that they'll stay around NXT for a good minute. But yeah, they definitely have a ton of potential as a team for sure.
All right. Next is a guy that we've crapped on quite a bit, but he's been injured, so we haven't had that opportunity of late. Big Body Javier Bernal, a.k.a. Mr. Tatum Paxley. He's like a Dante Chen with personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that, has jobbed a lot, but he's also one of those that if he gets the right gimmick, can go. And we could see what could happen with him. I mean, we don't know, like, when he returns, what he may be packaged as. But, the jury's out on him. I mean, yeah, I really was not liking his gimmick he had before, so I'm hoping he doesn't return with that when he does come back. But any thoughts on Big Body Javi at this point?
Yeah, I honestly kind of forgot about him. So
well, he's on the roster page and the WWE site. So
yeah. No, that's more on me. I can't believe I forgot about my boy Big Body Javi. But like you said, he's a good guy in the ring. Like you said, I think if he got maybe put in the right group or got given the right gimmick and given the right opportunity, I think he could kind of take it and run with it. But that's one of those, when he gets healthy, it's kind of a wait and see what he can kind of do, or what they kind of start to do with him when he comes back. But yeah, I think he's definitely talented in the ring. He definitely has a ton of charisma. So I think this, maybe the sky's the limit with the guy, but let's kind of see what they kind of put him back into whenever he comes back from injury.
All right. Now, next we got the young OG, Javon Evans. This kid is so talented. The only thing is as being a dad with a kid who's actually older than him at this point of his life, I get very nervous for the kid. There are so many times I see him going off the top turnbuckle or over the top rope, and I think he's going to hit himself on the announce table or whatever, or have an injury. So that's I see a lot of upside. I really, he's got to be down there for another couple of years. I think he, has shown shades of a little bit of a heel turn at times, but I don't think they're going to go there. I do like him kind of be paired with Cedric Alexander right now a little bit. But I actually did not include Cedric on my list, so we could talk about him a little bit too if you'd like. But I think that the kid's got potential. I think he will get an NXT North American title reign within the next 6 months or so. Love his moveset, and I really did like, how things went down with him and Orton. Although he botched what was probably going to be a top 10 RKO. In their match, the way Randy did the veteran thing and told him he did okay, he did good when he kind of didn't hit the move the way they were supposed to. I kind of like that, and I think he just needs to learn. The kid just needs time. He's got the talent now. He just needs to get the head for it. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he's just got to get more comfortable in his shoes. He's got to learn when he can take those risks and when they're good ones. Because he does take a few risks that are kind of potentially disastrous, and is eventually going to catch up with him. He's going to eventually blow out an ACL or hurt his back, or just do something. I don't want to even say catastrophic, but one of those bumps is eventually going to catch up with him if he didn't kind of start to focus and pay attention a little more to kind of what he can get away with and kind of stuff like that. So, but yeah, sky's the limit for the guy. He's the stuff he can do is absolutely incredible. He's so agile, so quick, can leap 50 feet in the air. It seems like sometimes. But yeah, I think, he's bouncy. But he's, but yeah, sky's the limit for the guy. He's already been in the NXT title picture. Even though maybe he's a little young to the game to maybe be in that position, but obviously they trust him. They think they obviously agree with us that he has a ton of potential. But yeah, he definitely needs to slow down a little bit and maybe take a few less risks going forward. He needs to learn what he can kind of get away with, I guess is the best way of putting it.
All right. And now, I mentioned him. I don't have him on the list here, but Cedric Alexander. We could also throw in Ashante in there. They were working on them as a tag team, which I was, kind of excited to see, because I think, Ashante we have not seen that much. As long as he's been, with the company, even though he was gone for a little bit, we haven't seen really that much of him. He's kind of like that, forgotten member of a Hit Row kind of thing. We had Swerve as the leader. You had you had Top Dollar as like the big booming personality guy. You had B-Fab, whatever. But he was kind of like he's there guy of the group. And now he's doing that kind of like romance thing, which I don't know where they're going with that kind of thing. And you got Cedric, who's kind of just been like a veteran, really, just like one of those like a big brother kind of deal to Javon. So I think their time as what was going to be a tag team may not actually happen. Mm-hmm. But what do you think of these two kind of veterans down there? I mean, I'm a big fan of Cedric. He's a guy that people have been hoping for a bigger push. He was part of the Hurt whatever they call it.
Hurt Business.
Hurt Business. Yeah, now there's a Hurt Syndicate. God, jeez, so much originality. over there. I thought they were going to call him the Beat Down Hurt Syndicate or something. They could have done that. But I like having Cedric there. He's a guy you can plug in. Wins and losses, don't really matter because there's no cruiserweight title, so he's not. I don't see him challenging for any singles titles anytime soon. If they're a tag team, maybe they're in the NXT tag title picture. But what are your thoughts on Cedric and Ashante?
As far as Ashante, the romance stuff has kind of annoyed me over the past month. If you've listened at all to the cross up, most of the time I'm just like, we get our weekly look at Ashante failing to get Carmen in the sack or whatever. I get pretty annoyed by that one. So like you said, he was kind of the other guy in Hit Row. Obviously, Top Dollar had a lot of charisma. And Swerve was obviously a huge star now for AEW, and even was then. He may not have been always presented that way in NXT or WWE, but he definitely was a huge star when he was there. But Ashante was always kind of the third guy. He may even have been less important than B-Fab at certain points as well when that group existed. So. But yeah, I think he's good in ring. I think he probably does have some potential, but they've got to move this thing along with Carmen. They either need to be a couple and kind of be a power couple and kind of run maybe the North American division there for a little bit. Maybe Carmen wins the women's version and he wins the men's version, and they kind of run it as a power couple. But they need to kind of decide what they're going to do with that. And stop kind of playing around with it. And then Cedric, like you said, he's kind of a veteran that they kind of threw down there to kind of mentor maybe guys like Javon to maybe slow down a little bit. So he's definitely there to play a role. I don't know that he'll have a ton of like title success or anything like that. But if they put him and Javon together and make them a team officially for a little bit, I could see them maybe winning the tag titles. But he's definitely there to kind of be a player coach kind of situation. Mm-hmm. Maybe more in a backstage role, kind of something like that. So, but he plays a role, and it's important. But I don't see him having like a ton of like I said, title success or anything like that.
All right, here we go. We got Gallus now. Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, Wolfgang.
Move on. I'm just kidding.
I know they're not your favorite guys, especially Joe Coffey. Again, another group. They were pretty dominant over in NXT UK. I saw some of their stuff. They've been okay over here. I know they've had some start and stops a little bit. They've been around, tag title picture, and Joe's been in some titles, in some feuds, and they had the thing going with the family for a little while. They've had some feuds, but I think they need to go. I've said this before. Drew's still a heel. He came back, recovered from his injuries, attacked Sammy, and possibly attack Jey Uso, but I think these guys need to come up and kind of be like Drew's. Not that Drew needs it, but I think it will just elevate Drew even more that he's got three guys that will just beat the crap out of people for him, basically. Mm-hmm. Where he doesn't have to get his hands dirty all the time, where he can kind of pull the strings and he's got a little protection and insurance that can, lead him to winning one of the world titles up there, and they just kind of make sure he keeps it kind of deal, and as well as being in the tag team scene up there, and maybe Joe being in the mid card scene. But I think these guys, I think time has come for them to move on from NXT. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Drew's big bitch has been that he gets constantly screwed out of these situations because other people interfere. So, what could you do to kind of phase that away? To deal with a bloodline, to deal with a Solo that screwed you out of beating Roman, to take care of a CM Punk that screwed you out of beating Gunther or Seth at certain points. You could have a group. You could have these guys that obviously are your countrymen. I think they do even have a good relationship. I think they kind of worked together on the indies before Drew came back. So, yeah, I mean, all the things that he kind of bitches about a lot, and he's kind of a loner, so I get maybe not grouping him up with somebody, but just character wise, I think it could do a lot for him to maybe have a couple of, like you said, he doesn't necessarily need heavies, but that these guys could kind of distract those guys from attacking him a little bit before, so maybe he could eventually win one of these world titles. So I definitely agree with maybe throwing them up and putting them with Drew, but I definitely, they're just kind of floating there. That they were in NXT UK from probably the beginning. They may not have always been together, but they've been around for a long time. So I definitely think they deserve to go up there. As much as I don't like them personally, I do think they do play their role, and I think that could be a good role for them with Drew. So, but there's not much more for them to accomplish in NXT.
Yeah, I agree. Just see them with their arms folded, outside the ring while Drew's in there, just to keep the interference out. All right, so next we got Josh Briggs, a guy who we have not seen much of up until recently. I think he went over to Japan for a little bit, right? Came back with this guy, Yoshiki Inamura, who I know nothing about. But he's a guy he was in the North American title picture. I could definitely see him getting elevated to the world title picture. He's a big guy, got the moves, has the indie, cred. So, I kind of just need to see which side of the fence he's going to be on. Is he going to be a face? Is he going to be heel? Is he going to be in tag team with this Inamura guy for a while? But definitely a guy, he's like a Duke Hudson, tons of upside. They just need to figure out who he is. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts on Briggs?
Yeah, he's a big potential guy. He's obviously got the size, like you said. He does have some good charisma. He is good in the ring for a big guy. We've seen that, especially in that North American Championship match at Stand and Deliver that he had with Dijak and Obafemi. So he definitely can go. Obviously, like you just said, I think he went to Japan for a little bit. Obviously, brought this fella back that they'll talk about eventually. But yeah, he's a big potential guy. I think he could definitely ascend to the NXT title picture within the next year or so. Maybe even be champion within maybe a year or two. But yeah, definitely a ton of potential because with the size that he has, and he's kind of quick for his size at the same time. So definitely a huge potential guy for sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see him be almost like a JBL type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something like that. He can move into a similar kind of gimmick. All right, so next we got Lexis King, a guy who again got saved from the purgatory that is AEW, and has developed into a character. But I don't know what they're doing with this character now, where he's like a nice guy. He's seen the error of his ways, but he just breeds swarmy heel. He just. You just look at him this guy is kind of an asshole. He doesn't even have to open his mouth. You just look at him, the way he carries himself and how he's kind of stuck in the 80s a little bit in terms of his fashion sense and his music and all that stuff. I don't know if I don't even know if he's a babyface right now. If he's supposed to be a babyface or he's faking being a babyface. But he's a guy definitely needs more time. I don't see him moving up in the next year, so he's got to really establish himself, and I'm trying to figure out what really that is for him. I mean, because I thought the gimmick was working for me at least for a bit, but now I'm kind of unsure about where they're going to go with him. So I don't know what you're thinking on him now.
Yeah, he's kind of the same with a few guys that we've talked about already. Whatever this is supposed to be kind of needs to get figured out quickly because it has been playing out for a little bit. This, I don't want to be like my dad, but I want to be better. I don't want to be known as kind of a scumbag anymore. But if it's for show and he's still a heel, kind of need to move to that a little quicker than maybe they are. Or if he's really trying to be better and he's going to be a face, really kind of establish that. But yeah, he's a guy that they need to kind of figure out what they're going to do. And kind of stop playing this game that they're playing with whether he's a good guy or a bad guy kind of situation. So definitely need to kind of figure out what they're going to do with him. But yeah, he's definitely going to be in NXT for a good bit. And you know, I want the guy to succeed because I think he is a genuinely good guy outside of wrestling. But I just don't know that he's ever going to be able to leap out of that shadow that his dad cast upon him. So, but we'll see.
All right. So next is a guy who, former wrestler. I don't know if he's gonna go back to being in the ring. He's a figurehead right now. He's I don't know, an assistant GM, if you will. It's Robert Stone. So I mean, I'm trying to figure out how the whole thing with him and Stevie Turner started under Ava, but I like the guy. I mean, I think he could be a good manager. I just don't know kind of like what their vision is for him going forward. So I don't know. What do you think? Because I'm also this whole kind of like bickering between him and Stevie. And we're not fans of Ava, really, as in the GM role at least. So I don't know. What do you think of Mr. Stone, and is he going to continue in this role? Is he going to maybe move on to back to being a manager? I don't know if we'll see him in ring, but he's definitely, I think, somebody that's got the personality, the charisma to be a main roster manager. So where are you thinking with him?
I do enjoy the cattiness of the relationship between him and Stevie, but Stevie's one of those that I would kind of like to see get back in the ring, and so obviously he wouldn't have that to play off of in the backstage. So yeah, maybe throw him back at being a manager of some sort. I don't know of who necessarily, but you could definitely throw him back in that role. But like I said, as long as they're doing this like GM's assistant fighting for Ava's love or whatever, I do enjoy that. But obviously that's going to run out at some point. And I obviously maybe they don't see a huge future for Stevie, but I think she was pretty solid in the ring when she was in the ring. But yeah, maybe they're just trying to figure out what they want to do with her. She might be on the list later that we would talk about. So, but we'll see when we get to her. But yeah, I could see him being a manager, but I don't ever see him being like a wrestler anymore because I think he's kind of like semi-retired from in ring, other than a few spots here and there.
And no more Robbie E. Oh well.
Maybe they can bring in Cookie.
Yeah, it's it took me a minute to realize that was him. As long as they don't bring Robbie T in. Talk about a guy with zero personality and almost zero in the ring. So
I bet he's unrecognizable today, just because I bet he got off the gas and is like way skinnier and like just not as jacked as usual.
Yeah. I never thought we'd talk about Rob Terry on this show, huh?
There you go. Coming in soon. I'm just kidding.
Oh, God, no. Oh, God. Jesus. No. Okay. All right. So next is a guy, he's on the shelf. I don't know what his timetable is for return, but somebody that really is over, swarmy heel, leader of the Metaphor, which I don't know if that group is going to be much of a group much longer. But Noam Dar. So I'll be interested to see what happens, because some of that group may not be around anymore when he comes back. And what does Noam do without his group? I don't think he really needs it. But it's so funny when I think about that old. He was part of wasn't he part of some group? I'm trying to think. He was part of something years ago, and then he came back in NXT UK, and then it got moved over. But he's a guy I think I could see him getting back into the at least the Heritage Cup thing for a little bit before maybe moving on from that. But not sure. Kind of just see what the deal will be with him when he returns. Anything on Noam Dar?
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to kind of lump in Oro in here too,
Yeah, I was going to go to Oro next. So
being in metaphor, but I probably see them being a tag team when he comes back, kind of going for the tag titles, just because kind of work him back in, don't rush him back into like single stuff, and they can be a tag team, and the tag team could use another team like that has some name value that's been around for a bit. So I could definitely see them getting inserted back into the tag division whenever Noah comes back. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's another one of those guys. He's a 205 Live original. Like he was around for the damn Cruiserweight Classic. So
that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to picture him from, because I know he's been around a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he was in the Cruiserweight Classic, was on 205 Live forever. Then he moved over to NXT UK. Obviously, has come back. But yeah, I could see him being in some more Heritage Cup stuff. Maybe going for the North American Championship eventually. But like I said, when I think when he first comes back, him and Oro will probably be a tag team and kind of go for the tag title. So, but after that, we'll see. I guess.
Yeah, and Oro, his personality's gotten better. His in-ring was there. I mean, he had that little thing going on where he was kind of poking around the world title picture a little bit, really as not a real threat, just a threat, kind of thing, just like kind of almost like a pest, so to speak. I mean, he's a guy who I think is a serviceable hand. Do I see him going up to the main roster anytime soon? No. He would definitely be like a jobber, a glorified jobber up there. He's just one of those guys that's going to have to stick around NXT for a while and then see maybe if his ceiling goes up. Any other thoughts on Oro?
Yeah, no, like kind of like I said, I think they'll kind of be a tag team. He does have some potential. I think he's good in ring. But yeah, I think his more immediate future is a tag team, or maybe again just kind of being Noam's second kind of guy to take out whoever the face is they're kind of going after at the time, to kind of throw out there to kind of be the final boss before they get to Noam or whatever. But yeah, I think their immediate future is in a tag team for sure.
All right. Next guy is really interesting because he may be on the cusp of a call-up, and that is the ruler of NXT, Obafemi. Now, he's a guy still a little on the green side, I think, but tons of potential. I think, his heel turn, his push came a little bit quicker than I thought it might have, because I thought he was going to be a babyface for a bit. But after losing the NXT North American Championship, we have really not seen him. So, and there were reports that he was saying goodbye to people backstage. So maybe he's being called up. Maybe he shows up in the Rumble. He's one of those guys that is probably, depends on how they present him. I mean, he could be a Keith Lee without getting effed up in a way. Like, how Keith Lee was so over with the big moves and everything like that. And Oba's kind of similar to a point. He's a guy that I could see showing up in the Rumble, maybe getting a couple of key eliminations, and then, we take it from there, and he maybe feuds with some other guys. Maybe he shows up in this whole New Day thing. Who knows? You just don't know. Because there are a lot of questions after that incredible segment on Raw last night. But I think he is all but done with NXT. What are your thoughts?
I get the bad feeling that is the case. I don't want him to be done with NXT. I think, like you said, he still is. I mean, he has been extremely successful. Was a great North American champion, has a great hit rate when it comes to great matches in NXT. So I could definitely see why they would want to maybe do something like that. But he seems like a guy that is presented really well down. I don't like using the word down here, like it's lesser than or anything like that. But I think he's used well in NXT. And I think there are too many people like him up on the main roster to where he would be like the third Bronson Reed or something like that. Bronson Reed's kind of the same character. He's kind of a monster dominant guy. But I just think Oba could be an NXT champion in the pretty near future. Like, he's a threat to Trick Williams. I don't think there's a ton of guys on this roster, which is a problem in itself. I don't think there's a ton of guys who are just a real threat to Trick Williams at this point. And I think he could be that guy. I think he could be the next guy that is the heel, badass, dominant champion that some face that they're going to have to build over the next year or so can finally take down and be the NXT champion after that. But I could see Oba obviously coming back, being Trick Williams, like maybe stand and deliver opponent and taking the title there and maybe holding it for like another year to the next stand and deliver or something like that. So I would love to see him stay in NXT because I think he has some stuff still to learn. I think he could super benefit from an NXT title run. But if they think he's ready for the main roster, I definitely do think we'll see him in the Rumble. I think there's no doubt about that. He's too much of a force to kind of not kind of present in that way and put him in there with those kind of main roster guys. But I hope he doesn't stay. I'll just put it that way. I won't begrudge them if that's what they do, but I do think a NXT run and an extended NXT title run would be really good for him.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of had that a little bit with the NXT North American title where nobody was taking it from him. He was just fending off everybody. But yeah, I could definitely, there was talk amongst the group here that, we're all part of with the podcast and feeds and all that stuff, that he was going to be the next guy to challenge Trick. And then, Ridge came out of nowhere, so to speak, and is now going to be challenging at Deadline. I mean, could we see him at Deadline kind of show up at the end of the title match and challenge whoever the winner is? That's a possibility.
Definitely.
Too. I think signs are pointing to him getting called up. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, for crying out loud, I thought Shayna Baszler was going to win or at least be in the finals of the women's IC tournament, and she loses in the first round. So, don't take my word on a lot of things, I guess. He's I would say like he's 75% of the way there. Like he just needs that. He's like a steak that's slightly undercooked at the moment. Like he's just not to where it's got to be, and he just needs that extra time. And I love your idea of him just winning the belt and holding it for a solid year. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of long title reigns when we have a lot of them going around these days, but maybe NXT needs that. I mean, maybe they need to build up somebody. Does that hurt the rest of the roster when you have a dominant champion like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's come to learn that sometimes wins and losses or titles in NXT does not always mean something when you come up to the main roster. You have plenty of people that did not win titles down there that became huge successes on the main roster. Look at Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss never sniffed a title in NXT, but she, of the last 10 years or so, has been probably one of the top 10 females in WWE. So
yeah, I just don't see a ton of potential challengers for Trick in like a WrestleMania weekend type situation. Mm-hmm. And I think he is the guy that they need to throw up against him at that point. Because like I said, NXT is definitely in a transition right now. They obviously have the CW that's new still, and that's big for them. But that they do need to start elevating some guys and doing it better than they maybe have been doing lately. Because like I said, Ridge is fine. They've been presenting him fine, and he's a guy that's obviously facing Trick at Deadline, but I don't really see him as a threat to Trick at the same time. And I don't really see anybody else on the horizon that could really be a threat outside of Oba, obviously. But yeah, they really need to start building some of these kind of guys to elevate to these spots and really be seen as credible challengers to these guys. So, but And same with the tag division. You know, Axiom and Fraser are such great champions, and there's some good tag teams, but I don't know that there's like a team that I really want to beat them right now. I think they need to start, you know, really that they've got the women's roster, as we'll talk about as we move forward. They've kind of fleshed them out and brought in some really named talent and kind of elevated them, but they really need to do that on the men's side as well, which I think they will, but we need to start seeing it a little quicker, I guess.
All right. And that brings us to Ridge Holland, a guy that, you know, like I've talked about, like he was growing on me when they had the Brawling Brutes going, but you know, this whole, you know, return to NXT where he's, you know, you think you're hoping he's not going to injure somebody else by a mistake. I mean, the Chase U thing was like, I mean, Chase U had been around for a long time. Maybe it was time for it to go. I mean, we'll talk about this when we do the preview. You know, I don't know. I mean, we didn't think he was gonna, you know, win, you know, beat Andre Chase to you know, close that gimmick out. But I don't know. I mean, he's one of those that I don't like. Just when you think that he's not going to do something, he does something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the conventional or our personal feelings about him don't always translate to what they're doing. And I mean, look, he's a guy, you know, you needed the change of scenery, I guess. You know, credible challenger to Trick. I don't know. I mean, anything else on Ridge here?
Yeah.
I mean, he could win the belt, and then Oba comes back as a face.
Yeah.
And you don't know that, too.
I mean, I hope not, but
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to bury him a minute ago either. He is a credible challenger, but I don't want him to be the person that beats Trick, I guess. And Trick just won it back. I mean, I know it's been a month or so since they debuted on the CW and he won the belt back from Ethan. But yeah, I don't see him losing the title this quick, and I think Trick's a champion that's gonna hold it until the big show. And kind of, you know, lose it out on Mania weekend to whoever they put up against him. But yeah, Ridge is a main eventer in this scenario and in this kind of NXT roster that we have currently constructed. But yeah, he's fine. He's like the epitome of fine for me when it comes to professional wrestling. But he's not somebody that excites me or somebody that like I'm ever going to be like super into. I don't think his finisher's cool. Obviously, he vanquished Chase U, and that was a really an emotional moment when that happened. But yeah, I don't. That they like him. Obviously, they are putting him in these situations. So we'll see with him. I guess we'll see if he kind of changes our mind.
Yeah, he vanquished like all of them. Like he took all of them out. You know. So all right. Next, speaking of Chase U, we got Riley Osborne. You know, guy, ton of potential, is good in the ring. I see him. He kind of reminds me of Justin Gabriel. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I'd like to see maybe him and Duke in a tag team to continue on as something other than under the Chase U banner. Mm-hmm. But you know, he's a guy that's, you know, can put on good matches. Will he be a world title contender? Probably not. Mm-hmm. But he, you know, he could be in the mid card scene at some point. Once he you know, does some more time there down in NXT, you know, almost like a Sammy Guevara type. Like I see a very similar moveset there. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, like I said, tons of potential. Just need to kind of get him a character that's not a Chase U member. So, you know, what do you think about Riley?
Yeah, I mean, he's a super young guy, so he has a long, bright future in ahead of him. So, yeah, like I said earlier with Duke, I think maybe they continue to be a tag team for a little bit. Maybe one of them turns on the other eventually, and they kind of break away from each other and become single stars. But yeah, he's a guy like I've kind of talked about it a couple of people so far. I think he may ascend over this next year. But maybe the year after that, maybe he starts to kind of be like a main North American contender, or maybe even like a outside chance that maybe he contends for an NXT title in a couple of years. But yeah, he's super young, so he has a lot of time ahead of him. So, but yeah, he has a ton of potential. Good high flyer for sure.
Yeah, he could slide into like Nathan Frazier's spot once Nathan possibly
sure.
moves up. All right, so we got our current NXT champion. Whoop that Trick. Trick Williams, a guy probably, one of the most improved guys over the last year and a half to 2 years. He's still a little, early into this latest title run of his. I think he's been fine. I think he's been a good champion. I think, I was at Deadline last year. It was incredible to be part of that live when he ended up winning the Iron Survivor match. He kind of broke out from Mellow Shadow. He's a guy, definitely, I think by this time next year, if not sooner, he will be on the main roster, because I don't think there's much more for him to do after a couple of title runs. Hopefully he doesn't get lost in the shuffle once he gets up there. Maybe Booker T will have to go up there to do his entrance. I don't know. But he's been a good hand. He's exciting. The crowd loves him. Good on the mic. He's got exciting move set. So I just see Trick continuing that upward momentum. If he's still holding the belt, maybe he could be in the Rumble. I don't know if you want to use too many spots on NXT guys if they're not kind of called up.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes that's like, they've done it before where they've gauged guys, like they did it with Bo Dallas, they did it with Rusev, where they kind of like want to see, the reaction that they'll get with the main roster. I think he'll get a huge reaction if that song starts to play. So, what do you think on Trick? Do you agree, disagree with me?
Yeah, I think once he loses the NXT title, he could be like a kind of like a prime draft pick option to maybe put on SmackDown to kind of not put him back with Mello, but maybe kind of continue that rivalry a little bit. Maybe by that time, Mello's kind of a United States champion kind of situation. So we could see them kind of fight over that on the main roster. But yeah, he's ready, I would say. He's as ready as he's going to be. And he's the champion right now. I think whoever he kind of passes it off to will kind of take the torch from there and kind of run forward with it. Obviously, I think it's going to be Oba, but yeah, I definitely think he's main roster. Definitely by the end of next year, if not immediately after Mania, when maybe they do the draft. But yeah, he's got a ton of potential. He's been a great champion, been a great part of the roster for as long as he's been there, 2 or 3 years at this point. So yeah, ton of potential for him. But yeah, I could see him and maybe being in the Rumble if they use 2 spots. But I think Oba's definitely the representative that will be in it for sure. But they could probably throw Trickable there too as well. But yeah, definitely main roster and will be an important part of the roster as well.
Yeah. I'm one of those people who hold Rumble spots kind of preciously.
Yeah.
I hate to see them wasted. That's why I was calling for mid-card titles for the women on the main roster, and I willed that into existence. Y'all can thank me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also one of those, I think the men's Rumble needs to get put up to 40. That way they could do those comedy spots. They could do those throwaway spots. Yeah. I don't like it. And I also think, look, eventually the big 4 are all going to be 2 nights, right? Maybe not Survivor Series yet, but, SummerSlam next year will be 2 nights. I think the Royal Rumble will be 2 nights before long, within the next couple of years. I think we'll get the Women's Rumble one night. We'll get the Men's Rumble on the second night. And, I would be in favor also of a Tag Team Rumble. I know that's a lot of Rumbles, but, you only put 15 tag teams in it, I would say. And that's a way you get more guys on the roster. You kind of, it helps, I still think there should be a tag team Money in the Bank, but that's not for another podcast. But that's, I'd love to see, a few guys from NXT, a few gals also do that, and it's more there's more room for the women, and we'll talk about that once we get there. We're almost there, I promise. But I agree with you though. Trick and Oba may be the only ones I would think to see in the Rumble from NXT. I mean,
oh yeah.
If you had to say three, and Tony D maybe would be the third, I guess, if anybody.
Yeah, just to kind of throw a champion out there, maybe maybe a Nathan Frazier. Obviously he got trained by Seth Rollins, so maybe they work that connection in somehow. But yeah, I definitely think if you have two, it would definitely be Trick and Oba. But I definitely think Oba's the layup for sure. But we'll see if anybody else kind of gets included.
Yeah, we get one of those like showdowns between like him and like maybe Braun Strowman or something where they stand eye to eye, kind of like how we got the Keith Lee, Brock Lesnar thing a couple of years ago. So
yeah.
All right. So our next one, Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont. I mean, these guys have not been around that long. They're kind of like the babyface version of OTM, so to speak. They're very similar looks, very similar moveset. They did tease a little heelish activity from one of them. That looks like they may be heading towards a Hank and Tank feud with them for a little bit, because there was some dissension between them in that tag team battle royal. I mean, new guys, really don't know much about them. We'll have to see, how they progress, what kind of personality comes out of them, and how they move forward. But yeah, I mean, these are just another new tag team, and we'll see what they do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't seen enough of them so far, I would say, to kind of really have too much of an opinion on them. I think they've been good in their spots so far, but that's definitely one of those kind of wait and see kind of situations with those guys. I think they definitely have potential. They have some size, so we'll kind of see where they go going forward. But definitely haven't seen a ton of them so far, so not much to go off of.
All right, so we got Wes Lee. Was a little surprised at the heel turn. I've never seen him work as a heel. I don't know if he was if they were heels over in Impact at all when they were the whole Rascal crew, but kind of enjoyed it. I liked the heel turn. I thought it was well done. I think he's another guy that probably is close to getting a main roster call up. Don't think he'll be NXT champion before he goes. I enjoyed his heel run so far. It's like one of those, let's see how he works the other way. But I think he's definitely more of a babyface in his moveset, so I think that's what he'll be when he comes up. I'm not sure I love the haircut on him now. Kind of took away a little bit of his unique look. But definitely I like the guy. Probably the greatest North American champion I think that they've ever seen. Always, if you want to talk about also like who had more match of the nights on NXT PLEs, I think Wes Lee is probably, if not top, he's up there in the conversation. So what do you see for Wes Lee in the upcoming months or so?
Yeah, he's kind of a confusing one. I definitely think he is a key part of whoever ends up beating Trick for the title. I don't think it's going to be him. But maybe if Oba does end up beating Trick, maybe Wes is the guy that maybe a year from now or a year from that Stand and Deliver might be the one to finally take down Oba. That's when he finally beats him after trying so many times for the North American Championship. Might be he finally beats him for the NXT title. I don't see him going to the main roster anytime soon. You were talking about the Rascals being heels. I don't think they ever had like a really extended heel run, and even if they did, they were kind of like those just kind of punk teenage boys that are just acting like real immature assholes. So he hasn't really done this like serious, like I'm a serious man and I'm going to be taken seriously kind of thing yet. So definitely a new role for him, but Yeah, I don't see a ton for him in the immediate future, but I could see him maybe being an NXT title contender, maybe towards the end of maybe next year and going into the year after that. So we'll see with him.
All right. All right. So let's move on to the women. So we talked about we mentioned her very briefly, but Adriana Rizzo, part of the D'Angelo family, was a welcome addition. I think all these groups they need at least one woman. I don't like it when we saw it with the Judgment Day too a bit with Rio, where it's like the man on woman violence doesn't really happen as much in wrestling, if at all, like it did years ago. So I find it I know heels are supposed to be like chicken shits and yada yada blah blah blah, but I don't like it when one faction or group has a woman and the other one doesn't. So it's like it's like AEW right now. Like no woman has stood up to Marina Shafir yet, and whatever the hell that fakakta thing they're doing with Moxley and them. But but I do like Rizzo. She's got the character down. The in ring, it's coming along. It's coming along slowly, but she definitely is progressing, and I just see her continuing to get better and better as we go along. Should she get called up if the family gets called up? I mean, look, when they brought up BFAB, her in ring was not great at all. And it's kind of like a Maxine Dupree also situation you don't want to see, but both those women though, when you talk about BFAB and Maxine, they both are steadily improving in the ring. So there is precedent for females to be brought up as parts of groups or managers or valets or what have you, but they will continue to train and get better. And I think that could happen with Rizzo. I mean, I don't know if I see that though happening within the next year, but I love the character though. So what do you think on Rizzo?
Yeah, like you said, I think she's definitely got a good character down. Definitely needs to improve in the ring. I think in the little bit that we have seen, it hasn't been all too or all that impressive. But yeah, I definitely think she has some potential. Yeah, I mean, it depends on when the family gets called up. If it's any time in the next 6 months or so, I definitely would say not that she does not need to go with them. I definitely think she needs to get some good reps and just be in longer matches and have a lot more situations before she's even thought about putting on a main roster. So, but yeah, she has some potential. Definitely has the character down. But definitely needs to get a little bit better in the ring for sure.
Yeah, we could get Enzo, Big Cass, Carmella situation where they get called up, she stays behind to kind of continue to get some more seasoning. So could definitely see that happening. All right, next we got somebody we haven't seen as much in the last little bit. Ariana Grace, again, personality down. Gets it from her comic timing from her father. She's somebody that I could see getting called up earlier than you'd expect, and she's there for like almost to be a comedy character, at least for a little while. I mean, her in-ring, from what I've seen, is pretty good actually. So, I like the Miss NXT thing. Maybe she gets called up, she becomes Miss Raw or Miss Smackdown and continues on that path.
Yeah,
possibly. Any thoughts on Ariana Grace there?
Yeah, but they were really doing a lot with the TNA crossover there for a while, and she was kind of the conduit between Santino and Ava, I guess. She would bring the other girls over and present them as like her friends or whatever, and have them face like Jordan Grace or somebody like that over on TNA. And they kind of stopped doing that as of late. I don't know if she's hurt or if they just kind of have pulled back on that partnership a little bit. But honestly, you really haven't seen her since they kind of stopped doing that as much. But yeah, she's definitely got the character down. Definitely can be a good comedy character, like you said, like her dad. but yeah, she's got some potential for sure. I don't know that she's ever going to be taken super seriously based on how she's been presented so far, unless they give her some kind of like new ruthless kind of character when she comes back or something like that. But we'll see. Obviously, she needs to come back from whatever injury or whatever kind of hiatus they have her on right now. So that one's kind of a wait and see.
All right. I'm going to group these three women together because I refer to them as the interchangeable blondes. We got Brinley Reese, Carly Bright, and Kendall Gray. Now, they've all been on TV. They've all done little things. Brinley probably has been featured the most out of all of them with her kind of like that peppy, always working out thing. I mean, Carly and, Kendall have been kind of a tag team. They had something going on with No Quarter Cash Crew for a little while where I think it was Kendall was like slamming Miles Bourne or something. But I mean, these are people, women that, a year from now we could be talking about in higher regard. But for right now, they're still too new. They're kind of like, level up types to the most part, kind of thing. Still trying to figure out. It's kind of like where Ren Sinclair was, however very many months ago. It's like we still need to figure out what these women are going to do. I mean, Brinley has been part of like, a little bit involved in the Ashante stuff, but not much. I mean, and they, you kind of see them all like in the locker room when they do those things. So, anything you want to say about any of these three ladies?
Yeah, I mean, Carly and Kendall, not much going on there. I think everybody was slamming Miles Bourne there for a while, so Kendall may have done it once. Carly may have done it another time, but
yeah, that's right.
there was a month or so there where every week he was getting slammed around by some female on the roster, whether it was one of these girls or not. But yeah, Carly and Kendall, like you said, they kind of tagged a little bit, but mostly they're just kind of squash. Fodder for like a Zarya or somebody like that we'll talk about later, or like the new thing that's coming in, or the new person that they're kind of pushing. So not much on them, but Brinley's been using a lot of backstage segments. Like you said, she's been using a lot of that little love stuff with Ashante and Carmen. So but yeah, I mean she definitely needs to, they all need to get some more reps under their belts and definitely improve a lot. So, but not much on that crew.
All right. Next we got Cora Jade. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to make it in the Iron Survivor. I was a little surprised when Soul beat her, and also a little surprised, although it was well done when Ren pinned her to win that that second chance match there. I think with Cora, I think they're kind of treading water with her a little bit just to make sure that she will stay injury free for a period of time because she's had some start and stops, and it's night and day. We had like, it's like she was no doubt Gwen Stefani, and now she's like glam Gwen Stefani kind of thing, or Avril Lavigne, or however you want to say it. Like very different look. I do like the that they had her and Roxanne kind of reunite now as heels. Yeah. I kind of like that, and I thought maybe that would bring some dynamic to that would be played into a little bit. But she's not going to be in the Iron Survivor. After all, she did make her return last year at Deadline and then got injured again. So I can see Cora. If she can stay healthy, she's in the women's title picture, no doubt. I don't know if she gets called up in the next year or so. Again, I think they're kind of like waiting and see like how she does.
Yeah. In
terms of like health wise, but I mean she's been pretty solid in ring since her return. So, what are your thoughts on Cora?
Yeah, I don't see any main roster in her near future, just because, like you said, I think they're trying to figure out if she can stay healthy. Whether she's something worth investing in. But if she can kind of stay healthy over the next little bit, I think she definitely is in that NXT women's title picture before too long. I don't know if they make her go back face and go against Roxanne, or maybe she's the heel challenger for the face that eventually takes down Roxanne. So, but yeah, that, like you said, I definitely think you're right. I think they're kind of waiting and seeing how healthy she can stay before they give her any kind of super push or anything like that, because obviously she's probably been pretty prime for a couple of pushes before, and has gone out with major knee injuries. So we'll see with her. Like you said, she's kind of treading water. Kind of disappointed to see her take 2 pins in these Iron Survivor qualifiers, but obviously the one tonight was kind of a fluke. But yeah, we'll see with her. Hopefully she can stay healthy and live up to the potential that she had when she first started.
All right. Next, probably not much to say because she's been injured for quite some time, is Dani Palmer. Mm-hmm. I thought they were probably going to do something with her and Sol as maybe a tag team or something, but somebody that again started to show potential, but really is one of those we just kind of need to see her come back from the injury and take her from there kind of situation. Anything on Dani?
Yeah, not much to add there. Yeah, we need to just kind of see how she comes back from her recovery. She definitely is a great athlete. We could see that from the matches that she did have. So, but yeah, definitely wait and see. We'll see when she comes back from her injury.
All right. We got Fallon Henley, our current women's NXT North American champion. I thought she was going to be the inaugural champion, but I have enjoyed her heel turn. One of those, let's see how you do on the other side of the fence kind of thing. Like the Fatal Influence kind of group going there. I do think she kind of reminds me. At first, when she started coming out with that coat on, I'm like, who does she think she is? Cruella DeVille? Or also kind of I don't know. I don't know if this is in the Logan 25, but did you ever see Charlie's Angels Full Throttle?
I have not. No.
That is so that is the sequel to the Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, Charlie's Angels, and Demi Moore was the bad guy in that movie. And there's a scene where Demi Moore is wearing, her bra and panties with a fur coat. Gotcha. And I got that kind of that image as well with Fallon with this big ass coat over her wrestling gear. So, but no, I've enjoyed her being a heel. I've liked the group. Somebody who has continually improved since she showed up on the scene, and maybe could be main roster bound before the end of 2025, if not definitely in 2026. Maybe she'll get in the NXT world title, women's title picture at some point. But no, definitely very pleased with her heel turn and see nothing but potential there. What do you think?
Yeah, the heel run's gone a lot better than I kind of was thinking it would go when it first started, but yeah, definitely was kind of surprised when they flipped her when they did. But I think we've talked about it in the past. I think they're really, before they take anybody to the main roster, Raw, SmackDown, they really want to test to see if they can do both sides, or if they're really good at one and not so good at the other. Just to test them out, see if they can pull off bad guy and good guy. But yeah, she's done it really well. Obviously, like you said, I think she was kind of definitely a candidate to be the first North American Women's Champion, but obviously it is the champion now. The Fatal Influence thing is working so far. Obviously, our next person that we'll talk about just came back and is going to kind of be seems like she's probably going to be one of the main foils for Fatal Influence going forward. So we'll see what they kind of do with that. But yeah, she has a ton of potential. Yeah, I don't see her probably going up next year, but maybe the year after that to a main roster kind of situation.
Yeah, and now we move on to your beloved Gigi Dolan, who just made her return last week. Had been out for a bit with an injury. Looks like she's dropped a little bit of weight, and definitely was very welcomed in her return. Going to feud with Fatal Influence, and I actually think that she might take the NXT North American title off of Fallon. Let's see how she does. because her singles run has been kind of iffy here and there. I think she's done okay, but hasn't had anything really sustained for a while with that. So let's see how she does. I mean, we talked about this, in chatting off mic. I kind of think that maybe at some point they may put her and JC back together if they move into the main roster. But I definitely think that she looked really good in her return, and I kind of think that Fallon's days might be numbered when it comes to the North American title when it comes to Gigi. But any thoughts on your beloved there?
Yeah, happy to have her back. She does look like she's gotten in some pretty good shape. Not that she was in bad shape beforehand, but
yeah,
she definitely looks like she's gotten a little bit more fit in her recovery. Yeah, definitely super excited for her to be back. Definitely see her being a big thorn in the side of Fatal Influence, and maybe even specifically Fallon and that North American Women's Championship. So happy to have her back. Hopefully she can stay healthy this time. And she can continue to build and I feel like she was going to those kind of start and stops there for a while. We were kind of, especially me, was kind of bothered that they didn't use her a little bit better before she got hurt. So hopefully they can kind of use her a little bit better this time, and she can kind of live up to that potential that I had for her so long ago.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we move on to one of our newest stars here, Julia, who has been presented pretty strong, really, dominant to a degree, and we had that really fun 10-woman team match that she was part of. It's interesting though, because we have like this kind of trio, and we'll talk about the other two of these new arrivals. And it's kind of like, who is going to get the leg up on the others? Because they're all baby faces right now. Will that last for very long? I don't think so. I think some will change their kind of their character a little bit. But I definitely see Julia. She's just being presented very strong. Kind of not Asuka dominant, but I can see her being presented very similarly. I don't think she is long for NXT. I mean, maybe a year at the most. I think possibly by this time next year. I mean, she could even be in the Rumble this year. We don't know. Maybe get reunited with some of her friends from Japan. But I see definitely an NXT title run in her time, as well as just continuing to dominate. Just I think the language barrier is really the one thing that she's got to get over down there to a degree. So,
yeah, she obviously came in with a huge name. Obviously, a lot of history with her, and in Japan and being a huge star there. So, I think she's lived up to it for the most part. She hasn't just wrestled a ton. She had the NXT Women's Championship match with Roxanne, and she had a match before that, and obviously she qualified for the Iron Survivor. So definitely interested to see her in the Iron Survivor, see what she can do there. And she had the tag at Halloween Havoc as well, with Fakur, or teaming with Fakur, I mean. But yeah, she's been impressive so far. But I'm excited to see her in the Iron Survivor Challenge. But I don't know if I see her winning the title. I think she could probably be the one that gets called up quicker than maybe Vakur will. I think Vakur may hang around NXT a little bit longer than maybe Julia will. But we'll see. If she does become champion, I think she'll have a good run, and have a bunch of good matches. So, but we'll see with her. Hopefully she has a good performance in the Iron Survivor Challenge coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's the of the three, I think she's the most heralded, I guess, coming in. So
yeah, and she's a little older than I think the other two are, so I think she probably has a little bit more of an ability to kind of go up quicker than maybe the other two do. So we'll see.
All right. So next we got Izzy Dame. Somebody who's still finding her way, finding her character, has the size, has been improving in the ring, was part of that crossover with Impact kind of thing going. Yeah, I mean, she was doing that thing where she was who's that kind of heavyweight?
Kiana James.
Yeah, Kiana James, but Kiana has since moved up to the main roster, which although she's been out with quote unquote injury, maybe enhancement injury, but Izzy's one of those we'll see how she does. Let's see, kind of she's got the potential, the athleticism, definitely taller than most of the women on that roster, so she could use that to her advantage. So any thoughts on Izzy?
Yeah, she's definitely got the size. She could potentially be a star in the future, but definitely needs to get some more reps under her. It was cool that they kind of used her in the TNA crossover to kind of have a match with Jordan Grace. So obviously they kind of trust her in that situation. But yes, she's good. She's definitely kind of wait and see. She definitely has some potential, but we just haven't seen enough of her so far to kind of really make too much of a judgment, I'd say.
All right. Next, we move on to JC Jane. I like JC, but she's one of those that kind of needs to be part of something. I think she's a good fit in a group. And again, like I said, her and Gigi together I would welcome that reunion on the main roster. Yeah, I mean, she had that brief injury where she took one to the face and had the mask on. Has been kind of like the older sister to another kind of newer woman there in NXT, and as kind of her and Fallon have really complemented each other in the heel group. So, anything on JC you want to add?
Yeah, she's at her best in a group. I think she obviously was really good in Toxic Attraction back when that was a thing. And she was fine when she was with Chase U for a little bit, but that kind of just existed for a little too long at certain points, and obviously it splintered off into this new group in Fatal Influence. But yeah, she definitely exists best in a group. She's definitely a better heel than she is a face, I would say for sure. So, but yeah, as long as they kind of keep her with Fatal Influence, or obviously split her back off and maybe make a tag team again with Gigi, I think she'll have some success. But we haven't seen that single success yet quite so far. So, but yeah, she's a good person to have around. She's a good promo, but her in ring isn't all that great all the time. But I definitely think she can improve over the next year or so.
All right. So we got Jada Parker. This is somebody that has continually improved. I mean, was somewhat green during the coming out of the breakout tournament, but has really evolved into over with the fans. Kind of a. I don't know if she's a tweener at the moment. She's definitely not a baby face, but she's also not as much as a heel. I mean, they do pop for her, especially when she does what's that high leg thing or whatever thing that she does in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her moveset's getting better. She's continually improving. So she's somebody that, still needs time. She's one of those NILs, I think, right?
I believe so, yes.
So she's somebody, who has really progressed rather, fairly quickly. And then, she's had some high profile matches. She's got this, long lasting feud with Lola Vice going right now. And she's somebody, within the next couple of years, I could see her on the main roster being kind of a dominant, performer. So, and she's young too, so she's got plenty of time. What are your thoughts on Jada? And still kind of part of the OTM group too as well. So she's got that going.
Yeah, she'll continue to ascend over the next year or so. She's probably one of those 2 year again, maybe 2 years out from being the top girl in NXT. So yeah, she has a ton of potential. Like you said, she's young, so she has a lot of time to improve her game. But she's already really good. She's already had a PLE title match, so they obviously think a lot of her. So yeah, I think in a couple of years she'll be probably one of the top, if not the top, woman in the division.
All right. We're going to lump the next two together. We got Metaphor, Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend, who have been having some matches on the main roster. They, Lash is somebody who has really grown and greatly improved. Jakara, for somebody who was injured as long as she was, is showing me something too. I thought, I was like kind of like wondering like what she is, because I didn't really see much of her before her injury. And I kind of think that they're on the cusp of getting called up. I mean, maybe it's a little soon, but they could use the tag team on the main roster. Similar to you have Carter and Chance. They got called up kind of early, but I think these guys have more potential than Carter and Chance do for success. So I definitely see them being not long for NXT. I think they would definitely be, at least Lash will be in the Rumble, if not Jakara as well. I just think that they're all but going to be on SmackDown full time soon. So what do you think?
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're already positioning at least Lash. I mean, I'm assuming Jakara would kind of go with her, but Lash was in the United States Women's Title Tournament, so I think they're pretty much all but done with NXT. So I really don't think they have anything else to accomplish down there. If they're going to keep them as the tag team, even more, there's no tag titles in NXT to kind of fight over. And obviously with Jade going out, those are probably going to be vacant. So they're going to need a women's tag team to kind of be able to take those over. So it'll be like a Jakara and a Lash, or maybe like a Chelsea and a Piper or something like that. If Chelsea doesn't take the women's U.S. title. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna need some women's tag teams up there, and I think Lash and Jakara have shown enough improvement over the last year or so to where that they can probably be in that kind of situation and not be a complete disaster. So definitely see them going up officially before too long.
All right, and we got the third member of Fatal Influence, Jasmine Nix. She's still on the relatively new side, but got the great look, has some decent moves. That Pele kick is really good. Mm-hmm. She for where she is, she's pretty good. I mean, she's somebody that has progressed rather quickly. I think being part of the group with JC, initially it was just her and JC, but now with Fallon being there, I see her continuing to improve and kind of moving into like JC or Gigi's spot, once they move on. So, I mean, I see a lot of potential with this girl. What do you think?
Yeah, same. She's impressed me in the Fatal Influence group so far. She could easily kind of fade to the back with the two veterans that are with her, but I think she kind of stands out in the group at the same time. She has a pretty cool moveset in the ring, so she's definitely a huge potential candidate for a future star. But she hasn't been in a ton of matches, I will say. She gets involved a lot, but yeah, she definitely has a ton of potential for the future.
Yeah, she's kind of similar to where Trick was when he was, with Mello for a while, where he wasn't in a lot of matches. He was more like just, there ringside and learning and getting involved in things. So I kind of see her in that similar role at the moment. Yeah. But with the potential to move up. All right, another one with a lot of potential, has a decent moveset and is now gonna, really needs to get that character thing going a little bit better. It's Carmen Petrovic. Her kicks are really good. I mean, we've said before, like Lyra should kind of hang out with her and learn how to do those kicks, because her kicks look pretty solid. I mean, she's got that background, that martial arts background. It's just putting the rest of the package together and kind of standing out as well, because you could line her, Carly, Brinley, Kendall, even Izzy, all up there, and you're like, who is who, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she does stand out from the rest with her moves and everything like that, and she's starting to be involved in some more angles. But yeah, she's somebody that I think will continue to evolve and get better and be part of a title scene for so long.
Yeah, I agree. They need to kind of move along with this Ashante the Adonis thing she's got going on right now. Whether they end up together or not. But yeah, they're trying to give her more scenes like that to kind of show her charisma and stuff like that. And she's been okay. I won't say she's necessarily the most convincing person. I'm in all of those, but yeah, she's definitely a pretty stiff striker in the ring. And I've enjoyed most of her matches. So definitely got some good potential for the future. But yeah, they definitely need to move either away or more into this stuff with Ashante.
All right, we got another one too that's been doing really well. Is Kalani Jordan? She was the inaugural NXT North American Women's Champion. I think she's good. I mean, I think she's a little too happy babyface now. I think for her, I think a heel run. I think they've teased it a little bit, but I think maybe within the next few months she might turn heel just to kind of see how she does. So she's not like that. Oh, I'm a little Lonnie, yeah, kind of thing. I mean, I think she's very good. Maybe she'll get called up a little earlier than you might think, just to kind of be with her guy. Who knows? But she definitely has a large upside. Just needs to continue to grow. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. Yeah, really good athlete. Obviously, like you said, was the first North American Women's Champion. But yeah, she's one of those that I think they'll keep her face for a little bit longer. But yeah, she's definitely one of those that they kind of need to test a heel run on, which I would be interested to see if she could pull up, because she's almost a little too bubbly to where, like, I don't know if I could take her seriously as like the kind of angry heel. I guess maybe she could be a real piece of shit once she turns heel, but we'll see on that one.
Yeah. We can probably compare her to somebody else once we get there. We got Lola Vice next. Lola is, she's been featured a lot. She's got a unique kind of thing going with the mixed martial arts, but also with the Latina thing going. Definitely see her. She's continuing to improve. She's had some really good feuds. I mean, she's doing that NXT Underground, which I don't love. I don't know if that'll grow on me like the Heritage Cup did, but I think she's been solid. Kind of trying to figure out what side of the fence she's on, though, because is she a face? Is she a heel? Is she a what? So, I mean, she's somebody I think could get called up sooner than you might expect, just because, she may, maybe she could get involved in something on the main roster, possibly. But, yeah, I know. I like the girl. I see a lot of upside there.
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of you're not real sure if she's supposed to be heel or face at this point, because her and Jada are kind of, nobody's really presented as the good guy in this situation. They just don't like each other for the most part. So, but yeah, once that kind of gets fleshed out, once they kind of finish with each other, we'll see what they kind of each go from there. But I'd probably see Jada winning that one, just because I think she has a little bit more potential in the near future, per se. Well, yeah, Lola's good. She's still pretty green. She's still pretty, like you said, she has the MMA background, so she has a lot of strike-based offense and kind of grappling-based kind of stuff like that. So she definitely needs to get a little bit more confident in her in-ring stuff. But yeah, she has some potential for sure. And, they're always looking for Latino stars. So, there's not too many of those on the women's side. So any way you can stand out in that kind of way definitely helps you along the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a big market for them. All right, so we got Nikita Lyons next, who has returned again recently from an injury and has turned heel. And I kind of dig her better as a heel. I was I was like okay with her as a baby face. I mean, she's a big girl who can move, and she's got some MMA thing going there. But I want to see her continue to grow in this heel role and just be that like kind of that dominant big bitch kind of thing. Where, it's like, yeah, go ahead. She just doesn't give a shit, kind of thing. Instead of being like, oh, I'm the lion, I'm a rocker. Oh no. She's just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to talk to who I want to talk to. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to just do what I want, and we'll see. I mean, and again, she's another one that I think they need to see, make sure she can stay healthy for a certain amount of time. So, what do you think about Nikita?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely need to see if she can kind of hold up. She had 2 knee injuries back to back, pretty much. Like, she came back and immediately went back out for a while. So, definitely need to see if she can kind of hold up. But yeah, the new heel character definitely fits her really well. So, I'm definitely excited to see where she can push that to. So, definitely looking forward to the near future with her. I don't know that she'll particularly contend for a title, but I definitely think she'll continue to be featured.
All right. Well, we'll skip over the next person I have on the list because we'll go to that person last. So, we've got Sol Ruca. Again, somebody came back from an injury, has continued to improve, introduced a great finisher that she can pretty much hit from anywhere. It's not been it's one of those finishers you worry about it being like, everything just has to align for her to be able to hit it, but she's been showing that she can hit it in different ways. Kind of a unique look there, with the whole surfer thing going. Continued upside, and somebody again that had been out for a bit with an injury, but she continues to improve. Do we see her in the Rumble? She's an outside shot for the Rumble, maybe to hit a soul snatcher on somebody at some point to lead to an elimination. I don't think she's winning the Iron Survivor, so we'll talk about that a little bit more as when we get there. But she's continued to improve and continue to elevate. So where are you with her?
Yeah, I definitely think she has a ton of potential for the future. I think she's kind of like a Jada, maybe not in the NXT Women's Championship picture over the next year, but maybe the year after. Maybe she's one of the kind of top stars headed towards 2026. So she definitely has a ton of potential. If she can stay healthy, I think she's going to be one of the big stars for NXT down the line.
All right. Now we got Stephanie Vaquer, who is one of the new arrivals, highly anticipated. I think she's been great. Her and Julia have been great together. It's just one of those things like, let's see, kind of who takes the next step first out of this group. Yeah, I mean, I've liked her. I think she's been really solid. I think she's been a little bit better than Julia actually in the ring so far. Mm-hmm. And that's not a knock at Julia. I just think that she, has had her matches have been just a tick better that we've seen from her. So, what do you think about Stephanie Vaquer?
Yeah, she super stood out to me in the Halloween Havoc tag match. I obviously talked about it in the chat that we kind of talked about earlier, but yeah, she really stood out to me there. And even in her AEW match that she had with Mercedes, she really blew me away. Just with how much she outclassed Mercedes in that match. I feel like you would think Mercedes is like the veteran, and Vaquer is kind of the newer, kind of lesser known person, but she really stood out in that match. But like I said, she stood out in the Halloween Havoc match, so she's really impressed me so far. I think she's going to be the one that takes the title from Roxanne. I don't know when or where, but I think she's going to be the next champion. I'm kind of like hoping that into existence, I guess, maybe, because I really, really, really like her. And I think she can just have a ton of good matches with pretty much anybody on the roster at this point. So ton of potential for her. I definitely see her being champion at some point, even if she's not the person to take it off of Roxy. But definitely a bright future for her. on NXT and main roster whenever that happens.
Yeah, yeah. Again, she, it may not be, that quick. I don't, she's one of those that will not be in NXT for longer than a year and a half to 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we got Stevie Turner. Again, I'm not sure why she, has transitioned to more of a authority figure role or something like that. I mean, I didn't really see her in NXT UK. I was kind of liking her character that she was coming in with. Did okay in a couple of matches, and I don't know if she got hurt or just got taken off TV for a while. She has been in some matches. I think she was one of, she took on Jordan Grace, I think.
Yes, she did. That's correct.
So that shows a little bit of a trust there. I'd like to see her get back to being an in-ring. So I'm not sure. I mean, I think she's fine. I'm glad she's featured on TV because I like her personality and all that. But any thoughts on Stevie?
Yeah, I think that was actually her last match with
Okay.
with Jordan. I think she hasn't wrestled since then. I think that's when she kind of started being like the assistant along with Mr. Stone. Like I said earlier with him, I enjoy their kind of cattiness with each other. But yeah, she's young and I think she has some talent. So I would like to see her get back in the ring at some point. But see if they continue to do this authority figure thing. I feel like Ava's starting to lose a little bit more control as the GM, so I think she might not be the GM too much longer. We'll see. So maybe that's how they kind of split off and get all of them back in other roles, but we'll see.
All right. Next we got Tatum Paxley. Talk about somebody who's vastly improved. Her character, she didn't really have much of a character. For a while she was kind of like the hanger-oner to the Unholy Union before they got called up, and then she kind of became like this kind of little bit of an unhinged character with her, the excessive makeup and the playing with dolls. But her in-ring has vastly improved over the last year or so. I do enjoy her finisher. And she's been part of also the crossover a little bit with Impact. I don't know if I see her winning a title at some point, but she's definitely somebody that within the next couple of years could be on the main roster and part of the mix. So what do you think about Tatum?
Yeah, like you said, she's vastly improved over the last few years. She was obviously in Diamond Mine, which is something that hasn't existed for forever, but that shows how long she's kind of been around. But yeah, she was kind of loosely affiliated with Alba and Isla there for a little bit as well. But yeah, she's been used a lot in the TNA crossover as well. So they obviously trust her. She's obviously somebody that they're kind of behind. But yeah, maybe a North American Championship contender over the next year or so. But I definitely don't see her going for the main title at all. But yeah, definitely will be on the main roster at some point. But yeah, I could maybe see her being a North American women's title contender within the next year or so, but we'll see.
All right. Next, we got Thea Hale. Again, part of the whole Chase U thing, so we have to see what happens there. Still very young. Ugly crier, I can say that much. And has a lot of potential. Has been, really good in the ring, but we need to kind of see. I know they did the whole thing with her kind of being glamped up by JC, and I really wasn't enjoying it. Like her as kind of like that hyperactive, kind of cheerleader character that she's got going. I think again, somebody that can move up to the main roster. Just it'll be some time because she, still needs to grow more, and it needs to show a little more range and maybe a heel turn at some point for her as well. Anything to add on Thea?
Yeah, it's kind of a wait and see on her. She definitely has some potential. Kind of like with all the Chase U people we've talked about so far. She just has an energy to her. She has a connection with the crowd that is kind of just undeniable. So she definitely has potential to be a huge star in NXT and even forward from there. But Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what kind of happens with the Chase U stuff. Whether they find a way to kind of still be together, despite not being under the Chase U banner or something like that. But we'll kind of see with her. It's hard to tell because we really don't know what any of the four of them are really going to do.
All right, we got Wendy Chu, somebody who had returned with a change of a character, which was very welcome change. Kind of a darker version of that kind of Sleepy Time character she had done, which was a bit ridiculous. I think she's talented. I think the in-ring is good. It's just that, I was kind of sick of that sleepy Wendy Chu thing, and now she kind of has it, but like in a demented way. So I think that's an improvement there. So I'd like to see them maybe do a little bit more with her, in terms of just kind of changing the character a little bit, to kind of get away from the sleepy person, I guess. Maybe she went from being a dream to a nightmare. I don't know, but there's something there. It's just they need to find it, because she had played that other Shenling, whatever the hell that thing was called, character, which we really didn't see much out of that character. Outside of just sitting in a chair and telling Xia Li and the other Boa to do stuff. So yeah, what do you think about Wendy?
Yeah, she's another one of those that got used a lot in the TNA crossover, teamed up with Rosemary there for a little bit. But yeah, she's one of those that's kind of been around a while. The character limits her somewhat, even still as a heel. Because she can only be so dominant to a point. She either has to be this character that's like a monster, or whatever. She's supposed to be a nightmare. That you almost have to present that as like a super dominant character that maybe is a champion even at some point. But I don't really think that's what they want to do with her either at the same time. So not real sure what to do with her. I think they can just continue to kind of use her to kind of get some more experience for some of these younger girls, but also maybe challenge for a title here or there. But I don't know that I see too much success for her in the near future or anything like that.
All right. We got Zarya, the newest of the new arrivals. Kind of came in as a force of nature, so to speak, kind of with her size, and has been fairly dominant so far in her matches. I mean, she's gotten pinfall victory. I think she was the one that got the pinfall in the big 10-woman tag match. Interesting that her finisher is the F5. But again, she's we'll see how it shakes out with the three of them on who is presented as what. I mean, I could see her maybe at some point being in the North American title picture as opposed to the the women's title picture, at least for now, to kind of get her some a little bit more. I mean, I think they're all being presented pretty somewhat equally, but I think Julia definitely and Stephanie are above her, I guess, in terms of perception, and I think Zarya needs to be maybe part of the working, the mid-card title scene for a little while, and then have her challenging later on in the world title mix. But I think I like what I've seen so far from her, and I knew nothing about Delta before she came in, so. You probably know more, even if it's a smidge, but you probably know more than me. But what do you think about Zarya?
Yeah, I mean, shockingly, no, I didn't know much about her. I think she had been in Impact for maybe a little bit, maybe an appearance or so. But I really didn't know anything about her either. I obviously know that she's Australian, but that's about the extent. And I knew she was or did go by Delta beforehand. But yeah, I think she's probably the one that they're the most excited about being WWE/NXT. Because based on her size, and she's a much larger female than most of the people on the roster. But I definitely think she has a lot of potential, but she's probably one of those like by this time next year, she's probably going to be kind of the person that they're ascending towards the NXT Women's Championship. But yeah, I think she could hang around the North American Championship picture, kind of fuck around with Fatal Influence for a while, maybe even beat Fallon at some point. But yeah, she's kind of a potential next year kind of candidate to maybe ascend and be a big contender for the big title.
Okay. All right. And finally, Roxanne Perez, our current NXT Women's Champion. Again, like when we talked about with Kalani, Roxanne was like that, could she pull off being a heel? It took a little while, but she was able to get there. I think the Roxanne coming to the ring and talking and then challengers coming out thing has gotten a little old. They actually did that. They did that tonight again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they do it like every other month. It seems like with her.
And I feel like every time they do it, they main event the show with it, and it's like, I get it, but like, come on, that you don't need to kind of end the show with that. But yeah, you're definitely right. Yeah,
I think she's a call up in the next draft. At least I think she probably, if she doesn't lose the belt by then, she will definitely lose it to someone that's Stand and Deliver. Mm-hmm. I definitely see her in the Rumble again. I mean, I think she was in it at least one time before, right?
Yeah.
Not two times, at least once. So, who's going to take it off her? I don't know, but I definitely think she's grown into that heel role. I think she is a little bit better as a babyface, but I think she'll be able to pull off both sides of the fence on the main roster, and yeah, I think. Again, she's another one, like, I don't know how much more she'll do after she loses this title. I think this is, her third time? Her third title
run? At least
run?
Second. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe three.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where they go with her after that. So anything to add on Roxanne?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think she's definitely a next draft kind of situation. She'll get kind of called up there. But yeah, obviously she'll continue to hold the title until whoever they decide to kind of take it off of her. I definitely think it'll be either Julia or Vicor for the immediate future. If she held it anywhere past Stand and Deliver, maybe they could do something where they kind of flip either her or Cora, and maybe Cora takes it off of her. But I definitely think Vicor or Julia takes it off of her, at least by Stand and Deliver, if not earlier. So, but yeah, she's definitely a main roster person early next year whenever they kind of do the draft after WrestleMania. So, ton of potential, and is going to be a huge star for a long time.
All right. So before we move on to our deadline preview to close the show, let's talk about any possible new arrivals we think could happen in 2025. Now, the Lucha Brothers have had, there's been some difficulties with them getting, we know Ray Phoenix, I think he got time added to his AEW contract due to injury, but I think that's coming up. So do you see them coming in? Obviously I believe they're going to sign with WWE, but do you see them coming in NXT, or are they just going to go straight to Raw or SmackDown?
I think NXT could use them just to kind of bolster that tag division, kind of we talked about earlier, that kind of needs to elevate itself in the near future. So I think they could use them. I think they are maybe too talented to kind of beat down in NXT at the same time. It would have been the same deal with the Machine Guns if they had ended up going to NXT instead of SmackDown, obviously. They probably deserve to go straight to the main roster, but like I said, NXT could probably use them to kind of bolster some of their newer teams and stuff like that. So it would be cool, but I'm not sure where I see them kind of landing. But yeah, I think Phoenix has a good bit left on his contract, but Penta should be out of his pretty soon. So yeah, we'll see. I think it would be cool, but I could definitely see them just throwing them straight on the main roster.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people say like they want to send people to NXT to learn the WWE style, so to speak. Yeah. So I don't know if these guys who are veterans, I don't know if they they need that, but who knows? All right, so a couple of people from Impact who I think contracts are coming. I think Jordynne Grace's contract is up in January. I could definitely see her coming in and going to NXT for at least for a brief while before heading to Raw or SmackDown. You cover Impact a little more closely or pay attention to it closely than I do. So what do you think about Jordynne Grace? I mean, the NXT crowd knows her. She's been in the Rumble before. She may be in the Rumble again this year, so we'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely see her making the switch. Like you said, I think she does a short run in NXT, and then goes to the main roster. But yeah, I definitely see her coming to WWE when her contract runs out. I think it honestly ends like at the beginning of 2025. So her and Jonathan Gresham, who she's married to. So I could see maybe both of them coming over when that happens, if they want him, of course.
Yeah, which I think they would. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah. Also, so I think his contract is up next year, but I believe in Joe Hendry, and the NXT universe loves him. Mm-hmm. I definitely think he needs to go to NXT first.
Correct.
If he signs with WWE, I think he'll get an initial pop on the main roster. I mean, could you see him in the Rumble this year?
Yeah, that could be a good spot.
Just kind of test the waters out on the main roster there for a moment.
Yeah. He would have to be like a first or second person out, I would say, just to kind of do the singing gimmick or kind of make up something song-wise to kind of start the match. But yeah, I could see him possibly popping up in the Rumble as that kind of a TNA crossover. But I definitely think I think that's kind of why TNA hasn't given him their world title yet, because I think he's kind of whenever that contract does come up, I think he's kind of a potential person to kind of make the switch. So, but yeah, I could see him in NXT in the next year or so.
Okay. Anybody else you could think of from TNA that could possibly make the leap?
Yeah, with Ethan Page being there, Josh Alexander could be a candidate, but I think he's kind of involved in that. Scott D'Amore just started his new Maple Leaf Wrestling or whatever it's called in Canada. So I think Josh is involved in that. But if he can do that and be in WWE kind of in the same breath, I could see him maybe making the switch and then them kind of reuniting the North and making them a tag team in NXT. Even maybe the main roster, but he would be a huge star to get for them from TNA. But I'm not as much into the international stuff or even the stuff in Mexico and stuff like that. So I don't know of any kind of candidates from those, from Japan or Mexico or anything like that could be potential future stars or anything like that. But anybody from AEW. Like a Ricky Starks, I don't know how much is left on his contract. I think he's kind of in the same situation as Phoenix. He has kind of some injury time added to his contract as well, but he's a big buddy of Cody Rhodes, so I could see him making the switch whenever his contract runs out as well. And he could be a huge star in WWE and NXT because I think he's vastly underused in AEW. So him. I definitely could see being over there in the next year or two.
Yeah, I was going to ask him. I don't know what Sammy Guevara's contract situation is too, because I think he's a guy that where he were to jump, NXT would be I think he would need to go to NXT to kind of establish himself over here. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else on the in AEW, any of the women or what have you. Anybody in Ring of Honor? I'm not sure.
Not particularly that's coming offhand. I'm trying to think of the people that I hear that like contract situations. Obviously the Lucha Bros and I think Ricky Starks contracts are coming up pretty soon. So those are the two that are jumping out to my head. But anybody from AEW could kind of switch over at any point.
Unless they are former WWE, then I don't think you would see them going to NXT.
True.
I think all the guys that have jumped, I think contracts are going to start coming up in the next year or so. So we could start seeing, more coming the other way. But there also, you never know who could get released from WWE or NXT that could go the other way. I mean, that's, like you said, it's good for business to have another place for these people to go to. But we'll see what happens. I mean, NXT is a good place for people to kind of get a fresh start, and not get thrown to the wolves, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're allowed to make mistakes at NXT. So so we'll see. Look, 2025 could be a very exciting year. I mean, especially right now, we know the women's side is stacked for the next. I know, and that was not a innuendo, if you will.
Yeah.
But, I realized that after the word came out of my mouth.
But it's loaded for sure.
Yeah. All right. So before we go, we have a PLE this weekend coming up. This is dropping on Friday, and we have PLE on Saturday. So hopefully you get a chance to listen before him. So we have Deadline coming up. Like I said, I attended last year's. It was in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Me and Mr. J.R. Sunil D'Amato had a mandate that night, and it was a good time. Really great show. The Iron Survivor match is really exciting to watch live. With the penalty box and everything going on and all that stuff. So it was a lot of fun. So let's start off with the men's. Well, we'll actually kind of go a little in reverse of what I've written on our sheet here. We got the NXT Underground match. Now, we talked about that briefly. You see Jada Parker winning that match?
Yeah, I see her kind of winning this and kind of ending that feud. It's supposed to be kind of Lola's match. Obviously she's kind of the MMA fighter, so it's kind of supposed to be like a more of an MMA kind of match, knockout, tap out situation. But I think Jada ends up getting the win, just to kind of establish herself even more and kind of ascending from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I could see it going either way. I might just be the say Lola just to say we could say like who got well, let's say which one of us got it right, kind of thing. Can't always be a love fest. Yeah. All right, so next we got our tag team title match. We got Axiom and Nathan Frazier defending against the No Quarter Catch crew, Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights. Now Nathan Frazier is doing double duty, so I think this might open the show, or at least be the second match on the show that night. I think the men's Iron Survivor will probably close the show, so that will give them some time to rest. But we also mentioned, we touched on all these matches briefly a little bit, but I kind of don't see a title change happening here. I don't think this is the team to take it from them. I don't know which team that would be, but but they are definitely teasing this split coming, which has been teased for a while. So I don't know if it'll come to a head here or not, but definitely, I don't see them losing the belts. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see them losing the belts here. I don't necessarily know that I don't think the No Quarter Catch crew is the ones that will take it off of them at some point, but I just don't think it's going to be on the first shot at the situation. So I definitely think Frazier and Axiom will retain.
All right. So next we got our women's Iron Survivor match. We have Julia versus Stephanie Vaquer versus Zarya versus Sol Ruka versus Ren Sinclair, who got in a bit of an upset. Now, I really like Ren Sinclair. I think, once she kind of got a character or personality and joined the No Quarter Catch crew, I think she really took a big step forward. And she's somebody that has been in there. They're putting her in there against Julia, against Stephanie, against Zarya, one-on-one matches. She's losing, but she's, that shows a trust factor. And I think part of that, factor is the reward she got. It was kind of an interesting way how she got in, but kind of with Lola knocking her out, kind of and onto top of Cora for the pin, and it was a fun upset that they pulled. But I honestly think that Stephanie is going to win this match. I think it's going to come down to her and Julia in the end. And if I'm being honest, I think that's our stand and deliver women's title match is Julia versus Stephanie for the when we get to there. But I don't think Roxanne will have the belt anymore, at least. And I think one of them, Stephanie or Julia, and I think it might be Stephanie, that will be holding the title going into Stand and Deliver. So what do you think is going to happen in this match?
Yeah, I definitely think you're kind of onto something there. I'll be opposite on this one. I'll go with Julia in this situation. I think she may be the one that takes the title from her, and then, like you said, kind of her and Vicor face each other at Stand and Deliver, and a big match. So I'll pick Julia since you kind of went with Stephanie in that situation.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to be there. Which one of them is holding the belt? We don't exactly know. I think Zarya will. I think there'll be a good show. I think Soul, maybe she'll hit the Soul Snatcher off the top of the, penalty box. I think Ren is going to get the crap kicked out of her. I think Zarya is going to pull off some power moves. I think it has the potential to outdo the men's match with who's in this match. So
yeah, it definitely has a match of the night kind of potential, just based on who's in it.
Yeah. All right, so now we got the men's Iron Survivor. We got Wes Lee versus Javon Evans. He's going to make me very nervous that night. Versus Ethan Page versus Nathan Frazier versus Eddie Thorpe. God, this is a tough one.
So I don't know if you saw this, but Eddie Thorpe got taken out at the end of the episode tonight. So he may not be in the match. That may lead to somebody possibly taking his spot. So,
okay. I know I had it on, but I was like, podcasting.
I just happened to look up when he was like laying on the ground. So.
Okay. So who could take that spot though? That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is where they pull off the Obafemi thing and maybe bring him back. And have him enter the match and just destroy everybody. But yeah, other than that, I'm not real sure who I see winning this match. Maybe Wes just to have like a title shot for Trick, but I'm not real sure. If they do replace Eddie with somebody, and it is Oba, I would obviously pick him. But I would probably go with Wes other than that if I had to guess.
Yeah. Looking at this, like I can't see Javon really. I don't see Ethan Page again.
Yeah.
I don't see Frazier. I wouldn't have seen Eddie Thorpe if whether he's in or not. So yeah, I think it's between Wesley or whoever may replace Eddie Thorpe if he does get replaced. So. Yeah. I mean. But I don't think, unless it's Oba, I don't think any of them are taking the belt off of a Trick. I mean, maybe Wes.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be a long shot, I would say. But, yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then, which may be our main event of the night, Trick Williams defending the NXT title against Ridge Holland. See, well, here's the thing. Like, I don't think there'll be a title change, but I would not be shocked if there was a title change, kind of thing. Where I think that Ridge takes it. Maybe he doesn't hold it for very long. Maybe he loses it back to Trick or loses it to somebody else along the way. But if the men's Iron Survivor is before this, that could kind of maybe tip the hand a little bit, but it wouldn't shock me if Ridge, takes the belt here. So, what do you think?
Yeah, just with how featured Ridge has been over the last little while, and how much they seem to be pushing him, I wouldn't be shocked if he won this match. I'm gonna hope, and I don't really think he's gonna win either. But I wouldn't be like stunned, I guess, if he does win, but. I think there's more value in Trick being champion going forward to kind of put whoever over once we finally get there. But I'm going to pick Trick. But again, like you said, I wouldn't be at all stunned if they give the win to Ridge.
All right, very good. All right, well, there is our kind of our year-end special, so to speak, where we kind of run down the roster, kind of just give some thoughts on everybody. And with Deadline being, this week we decided to be able to do a preview for you all. So, this will be our last show of 2024. So our next show will come to you sometime into 2025, hopefully by the end of January, if not beginning of February, so we can, we'll try to do it where we can preview whatever the next PLE is. So, but before we go, Logan, talk about like what's going on with you in terms of podcast and social medias and what have you. All your plethora of shows that you have going on.
You can find me on Twitter at Highway Backbone. We have the Backbone Wrestling Network. We have a ton of shows going on over there. Like you said earlier, I did a cross up every week talking about Impact, all the AEW shows, NXT, and all the other WWE shows, and any PLEs, pay-per-views that have involved in that. We just started season 3 on Linking Up Luchas, so definitely getting excited to get into that season because I think that ends up being probably one of the better seasons, if not the best, of Lucha Underground. So definitely looking forward to getting into that one. We just did Highway to the Impact Zone. Actually, I think it drops this week, but number 110. So continuing on that trek through 2007 TNA. So. But check out everything on the Backbone Wrestling Network. We got the movie pod, the movie education of Logan Crosland, where I'm expanding the Logan 25 that you made fun of earlier. We may do a little crossover here pretty soon with you and your holiday laugh-in theater. So, but yeah, just check out everything on the Backbone Wrestling Network. Sean runs that ship, and we've all been doing some really good stuff over there.
Yeah, great stuff from you guys as always. For me, check me out most of the time on the PlayStation Pop Experience. I kind of run the place over there. We have the Video Jukebox Song of the Day that drops, every weekday, 8 a.m. That's me and Steve Riddle pretty much holding that Pod Blast series down. And then we got Pop Goes the Classics. That is our look at the Disney full-length animated features. Our latest episode actually just dropped yesterday. That is Tangled. So that was a lot of fun. A movie I had not watched in quite some time. So very underrated. So really enjoyed talking about that. And that was one of Miranda's favorites. So it was great to have her steer the ship for that episode. Speaking of Miranda, we will get back into the swing of things with the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, motivational podcast coming back in the new year. And we may sneak a live watch in. I'm not sure. Scheduling may not be our friend with that one before the end of the year. Also I'm just trying to get like the other pods, here and there as I can. The cartoons of our youth, Laughing Theater, like Logan said, we have our holiday episodes coming. We'll have definitely one, if not two. So we'll see about that. It's something really enjoy doing every year. Sean Kidd is a big he's my unofficial co-host on those because he's a big time Christmas movie guy, so it's great to have him do anything with him actually. And then like I said, cartoons of our youth, Blockbuster Rewatch, all still around, just when schedule, energy, and time allow, I will get to those. And don't forget, check out everything else going on here on the PlayStation Wrestling Network. Also, like Logan said, the Backbone Wrestling Network and the North-South Connection on their network as well as their YouTube channel. You guys have one as well on the Backbone, and this Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network has a YouTube channel as well, and the Pop Experience might be getting into the YouTube fray in 2025. So stay tuned for that, and check out the North-South Connection YouTube channel. Is a lot of fun, a lot of stuff going on there. Very interactive. So just check out a lot of great stuff. A lot of good people doing great stuff. Really enjoy this group. Another great year here with everybody here as part of all of our various sister brother feeds. I really appreciate and enjoy being part of this group. I really appreciate and enjoy getting to do this podcast with you, Logan. I look forward to it. To get to talk to wrestling with somebody that knows their shit, and I have a good time doing so with. So thank you for continuing to be my co-host on this show.
No, thank you, buddy.
Love fest. So that's going to bring it into this episode and this year here on Who's Next. So for Logan Crosland, I am Andy Atherton. Thank you for joining us as always. We really appreciate everybody who takes time out to listen to the show and give feedback and all that. And we hope you have a great Christmas, holidays, whatever you celebrate, and have a wonderful New Year and all the best for you in 2025. And come back here as we will continue to see who's next. We'll see you next year.
Merry Christmas. I'm just kidding.
Merry Christmas.